Chapter 208. F***CK. Are you all here to watch the show? Is no one going to help me block the lightning? Mu Yu cursed loudly. The old man and Taoist Yundan seemed to be shocked by their own actions and did not immediately come over. When they finally reacted, the lightning was already not far from Mu Yu. F***CK. I'm not playing anymore. Whoever wants to play can go play. Although the old man guarding the pavilion and Taoist Cloudcore had already reacted, they were a beat too slow to stop it. Mu Yu roared and released the control of the Shang-Shi herb. Without Mu Yu's control, the herb's resistance to each other appeared. With a poochie sound, the Shang-Shi elixir returned to the state of an incomplete elixir. The lightning that was about to strike Mu Yu suddenly disappeared. The sky returned to tranquility and the red clouds disappeared. The surrounding disciples were all shocked by the sudden phenomenon. Although the Danding sect would occasionally have a phenomenon that represented the completion of a high-grade elixir, those alchemists did not like to be disturbed when they were refining elixirs. Therefore, this phenomenon could only be seen from afar. This was the first time they saw such a magnificent phenomenon at such a close distance. For a moment, they were all stunned and looked at the injury in Mu Yu's hand in disbelief. When the sudden phenomenon disappeared, everyone was puzzled. Did disappearing mean that the elixir was completed? This was the question in everyone's heart. When the old man and Taoist Yundan arrived, they were dumbfounded. Their excited expression froze when they saw the Shang-Shi turning back into an incomplete elixir. The two of them looked at each other in confusion, and then looked at Mu Yu, who was sitting on the ground. What happened? Why did it fail again? The old man asked in shock. What do you mean again? Do you think that refining elixirs is as easy as eating? You think you can succeed just because you want to? If it was so easy to succeed, why couldn't those seniors fuse it? Do you know that you were just one step away from success? Why didn't you quickly stop the lightning? Do you want to kill me? Mu Yu stood up and pointed at the old man's nose and scolded him. His heart was filled with joy. The surrounding disciples slowly recovered from their shock. They saw that Mu Yu had no respect for his elders, and scolded the old man who no one dared to provoke. Suddenly, there was an uproar. Was this brat looking for death? We also didn't expect that you would actually be able to fuse it. We were just a beat slower. However, what everyone didn't expect was that the old man didn't get angry at all when he was scolded by Mu Yu. His voice became softer and he even seemed a little aggrieved. It really shocked everyone to the point that their jaws dropped. A beat slower? Weren't you guys present when I refined the pill last time? Are you going to talk to me a little slower this time? Was that lightning something I could block? Do you know that you were just one step away? As long as you guys helped me block the heavenly lightning, I wouldn't have been distracted and caused the pill to fail in the end. Whose fault was that? Damn it, he clearly knew that there would be heavenly lightning when the pill was formed, yet he didn't install a lightning rod. Have you become stupid from refining pills? Mu Yu scolded in his heart. He had long been dissatisfied with the old man's cheating and tampering with the rules. What he wanted was this opportunity to ruthlessly scold the old man. He wanted to scold the old man until he had no temper and was willing to be scolded. He wanted to push all the blame to the old man and let him feel guilty. Then do you want to try again? This time I promise to block the heavenly lightning for you? The old man said embarrassedly. His face was full of annoyance. This was an incomplete pill. He was just one step away from success. Refining the pill also requires physical strength, okay? My mind was disturbed by the heavenly lightning just now, causing the resistance of the herbs to backfire. At least for the next month, I won't be able to fuse this pill again. Mu Yu beat his chest and stomped his feet. His expression was on point and his acting was perfect. The old man and Taoist Yundan were silent. They were experienced people and knew that if one wasn't careful in the process of refining herbs, it would be easy to suffer from the backlash of the herb resistance and cause the pill to fail. Mu Yu's excuse was so perfect that it deceived the two alchemists. Why are you in a daze? Why didn't you block the heavenly lightning earlier? The old man turned his head and glared at Taoist Yundan. Martial uncle, this can't be blamed on me. You didn't. Taoist Yundan said awkwardly. How can an old man like me react as fast as you? It's natural that my reaction is slow. This time, it's all your fault. You can do as you see fit. The old man didn't allow any explanation and pushed all the blame away. He was a scoundrel and Taoist Yundan could only suffer in silence. Mu Yu, how are you now? Are you okay? Taoist Yundan didn't continue arguing with the old man. He knew his martial uncle's temper and arguing was useless. He could only turn around and ask about Mu Yu's situation. Thank you for your concern. This time is different from the last time. Today I was shocked by the heavenly lightning. I'm afraid I can't try to form the pill again. I've disappointed you. Mu Yu stood up and said respectfully to Taoist Yundan. He didn't have the arrogance he had when he scolded the old man. It was as if he was a well-mannered young man. The old man rolled his eyes. Damn it! This brat was really holding a grudge against him. Taoist Yundan nodded. Mu Yu didn't scold him like how he scolded the old man. Instead, he was very polite, which made him very satisfied. No matter what, he was still the sect leader of the Danding sect. If he could endure being scolded by a disciple, it would be too reasonable. All right, then you go back and rest. Today's competition ends here. I think the rest of you don't have any objections, right? Taoist Yundan asked the other three people. Bi Wenxuan smiled bitterly. How could he have any objections? He couldn't reach the level of Mu Yu. As for Su Zai, there was no need to talk about it. What about the quota? If you don't give me a quota, even if I can't refine pills in the future, I will try again. Mu Yu said sincerely. Now was the time to compete with his acting skills. Taoist Yundan couldn't help laughing. This guy took advantage of the situation and still pretended to be obedient. He was completely different from Kumu's straightforward character. He felt that he was somewhat similar to the old man, which was also interesting. Taoist Yundan naturally wouldn't let Mu Yu continue to form the pill today. Otherwise, the backlash in his body would really cripple an alchemist. He paused and cleared his throat. The first place of this competition is given to Mu Yu. As for the second place, someone will naturally evaluate it based on the results of the first two rounds. Everyone had heard Mu Yu's scolding just now. The reason why he failed to form the pill this time was because the old man didn't intercept the heavenly lightning in time. In other words, he could have succeeded. The accident was all because of the old man. That vision just now was no stranger to everyone. Everyone was an alchemist, so they naturally knew that it was a sign of forming the pill. So strictly speaking, Mu Yu actually succeeded. It was just that his strength wasn't enough to block the heavenly lightning. This was inevitable. The heavenly lightning wasn't something that a nascent soul disciple could resist. This was the negligence of the elders, so he couldn't be blamed. For a moment, no one had any objections. They were just more in awe of Mu Yu's talent. A disciple who could fuse incomplete pills, this was a monster-like existence. In the beginning, everyone looked down on the disciples of the Green Bamboo Peak, not to mention that when Kumu came back, he didn't have any cultivation. How could he convince the disciples of the Danding sect? However, Mu Yu had made the incomplete pills 2 times in a row, and even succeeded once. Looking at the whole Danding sect, there was no second person with this kind of talent. Mu Yu snickered in his heart. Then, he pretended to be physically exhausted. Lei Lai hurriedly ran over to support him. Looking at Lei Lai's excited face, Mu Yu knew that this guy also admired him. Mu Yu, I really didn't know that you actually had such a high talent in alchemy. It turns out that you didn't show off all this time. You must teach me. Leilai helped Muyu up and flew him towards Kumu's mountain peak. Along the way, he exclaimed in surprise from time to time. Muyu shrugged his shoulders. I just happened to have innate experience in refining medicinal herbs. In addition, I also had Elder Kumu's guidance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to form the pill. In terms of alchemy knowledge, I'm far inferior to you. Don't be modest. Today, I saw the vision of an incomplete pill forming with my own eyes. That's an incomplete pill. Even martial uncle sect leader couldn't fuse an incomplete pill, but you actually did it. You're really too amazing, Leilai said with great admiration. Muyu laughed mischievously. To be honest, with the knowledge of medicinal herbs that Kumu taught him and the indescribable blood in his body, he actually didn't have any problems fusing these incomplete pills. However, he didn't want to appear too strange. A tree that stands out in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. It was better to keep a low profile. After he returned to Kumu's bamboo house, Kumu was meditating and cultivating on his bed. He didn't even go to watch Muyu's competition today. When he heard that Muyu had returned, he opened his eyes and looked at Muyu inquiringly. How was it? Kumu was already able to cultivate now. He preferred peace and quiet, so he didn't join in the fun today. Therefore, he didn't know that Muyu's competition today was to fuse incomplete pills. Leilai immediately spoke for Muyu. When he talked about the vision of Muyu fusing the incomplete pills, he even emphasized every word. His voice was full of emotion and cadence. Even those who hadn't been there felt as if they were there. They actually let you fuse the incomplete pills? Kumu frowned. Then, he felt an indescribable anger in his heart. This was clearly to make things difficult for Muyu. Only they could think of such a method. However, when he heard that Muyu actually caused a vision and almost formed the pills, he was also surprised. Are you okay? The backlash of medicinal herbs' resistance isn't child's play. The resistance of those herbs is especially strong. It can cause great harm to the body. How are you now? Kumu suddenly stood up after hearing that Muyu had suffered from the backlash of medicinal herbs. Muyu shook his head. He winked at Kumu and said, I'm fine. Kumu understood and nodded. He knew that Muyu was definitely faking it. Only then did he relax. Then, he put on a serious face and said, It must be that old bastard's idea. Only he would think of such a rotten idea. Muyu knew that this old bastard was referring to the old man guarding the pavilion. He didn't care. He couldn't care less about the conflict between Kumu and the old man guarding the pavilion. However, in Muyu's opinion, the old man guarding the pavilion was at least reasonable. Although the other party had cheated, in the end, he was still tricked by Muyu. They could be considered even. Moreover, he was the one who decided to use the returning pill to save Kumu. Muyu didn't have a bad impression of the old man guarding the pavilion. Chapter 209. As expected, Muyu hadn't even rested for 2 days when the old man came to find him again. Little Muyu, can you tell me how to eliminate the resistance of more than 100 herbs in the incomplete pill Shang Shi? These are all secret. Elder Kumu knows, you can ask him. How would he know with his mediocre level? Come, we two alchemy experts can talk about these things. Old bastard, why haven't you left yet? Kumu picked up a teapot and threw it at the old man. But before the teapot touched the old man, it broke into pieces on the ground. The old man was angry. Damn it, I'm not looking for you, why are you so agitated? Don't think that I don't dare to beat you now. If you provoke me, I will still beat you. Come, try me if you dare. Kumu was not afraid. Even if he didn't have any cultivation, he was not afraid of the mysterious old man. Kumu was the old man who had been guarding the pavilion. As soon as the two of them met, it was as if they had eaten gunpowder. Crackling sounds could be heard as they exploded non-stop. I really don't know what Shui Er sees in you. Your temper is bad, you don't respect your elders, you don't know alchemy, and you stuttered before. The old man certainly wouldn't do anything to Ku Mu. He was afraid that if he did something to Ku Mu, not only Lung Bingxue, but also Mu Yu would fight with him. This time, Ku Mu also threw the tea tray. Little Mu Yu, let's go. We don't care about this guy who only knows how to throw things. How old are you? You're still throwing things like a child. When you were young, you had to hide in my arms when there was thunder. How did you become a bastard when you grew up? I really raised an ingrate. If your master didn't entrust you to me, I would have thrown you to the mountain to feed the wolves. I feel ashamed for you that you wet the bed when you were 15 years old. The old man didn't have any scruples in front of Mu Yu. It seemed that he deliberately told these things to Mu Yu. Mu Yu tried his best to hold back his laughter, almost causing him to suffer internal injuries. It was really interesting to see Deadwood's deflated appearance. Dead Tree was really angry this time. He looked around for something to throw at people, but the old man had already grabbed Mu Yu and disappeared from the room, leaving behind a fuming Dead Tree. When he appeared again, Mu Yu was already brought to the Alchemy Scripture Pavilion. The old man guarding the pavilion usually stayed here, so he knew everything here like the back of his hand. When Mu Yu took a closer look, he realized that the pavilion he was in was filled with incomplete pills of various sizes. Old man, what are you trying to do by giving me so many half-formed pills? Mu Yu rolled his eyes. As expected, this old fellow would not let him off. The old man chuckled and said, I've seen these incomplete pills. They're all relatively easy to synthesize. Our pill cauldron faction has several hundred types of incomplete pills. Why don't you pick a few fun ones to practice with? Practice? Practice your sister. Actually, these incomplete pills were the wisdom of many alchemy seniors of the pill cauldron faction. They were only one step away. Once the pills were formed, they would be very precious, so even the old man guarding the pavilion valued them very much. If Mu Yu could fuse so many precious pills, he would definitely be the center of attention. He would probably be worshipped by the old man as a little ancestor. Who will the fused pills belong to? Will it belong to me or to you? Mu Yu would not be stupid enough to help them fuse incomplete pills. Last time when he fused with the returning pill, Shi Dengtian, that fellow, even wanted to take the returning pill away. Why would he do such a strenuous and thankless thing? He was not a professional alchemist, nor was he a true disciple of the Pill Cauldron faction. The unfinished wishes of the seniors of the Pill Cauldron faction had nothing to do with him. It can belong to anyone. You see, we're all members of the Pill Cauldron faction. How can a family say such things? Do you have any shame? Didn't you say that I was an outsider when you fused with the returning pill last time? Mu Yu was angry. Who said that? Damn it, I'll break his legs. The old man guarding the pavilion said indignantly. Shi Dengtian said that if you break his legs, I'll consider whether to help you fuse these incomplete pills or not, Mu Yu said angrily. The old man guarding the pavilion smiled awkwardly. Shi Dengtian is now the head of a faction. It's not good to hit him. How about we change to someone else? My family's elder Ku Mu is also the head of a faction. Didn't you say that you wanted to break his legs all day long? Mu Yu really admired this old fellow. I said that, but I didn't really hit him, the old man guarding the pavilion muttered. Stop talking nonsense. It's not good for me. I won't do it. Mu Yu, don't be like this. You have to know that the incomplete pills are all 7th level pills. 7th level pills require alchemists who are at least in the form synthesis stage to fuse. But there aren't many form synthesis stage alchemists in our Danding sect. Sect leader and I are both 7th level alchemists, but we can't fuse these incomplete pills. Ku Mu, that brat, used to be in the form synthesis stage, but he didn't have that ability. So I'm very curious about how you did it. How can you solve the problem that we all solved and successfully fuse the incomplete pills? The words of the old man guarding the pavilion made Mu Yu slightly surprised. He didn't expect that this old man was also in the form synthesis stage. Even Kumu was in the form synthesis stage. He thought that Kumu was just a cultivator in the spirit severing stage. Kumu had never told Mu Yu about his cultivation level. Usually, when Mu Yu made him angry, Kumu didn't beat Mu Yu to death. Mu Yu felt that Kumu's patience was really good. I told you that it was the quick core cultivation method that helped me, but you didn't believe me. Mu Yu insisted that it was the quick core cultivation method that had a problem. He didn't have anything to do with the Danding sect. He just wanted to use the Danding sect's quota to enter the second heavenly layer. It was not worthwhile to reveal his details. How about this, you write down your experience of fusing the returning to origin pill and the injury pill, and I will give you a lot of precious pills. How about it? I can give you 10 Yuan Qi gathering pills, a 5th level pill. It can let a nascent soul stage cultivator exert the strength of the out-of-body stage for a quarter of an hour. I can also give you a 6th level pill, Tai Ching illusionary pill. When you reach the 9th heavenly layer of the nascent soul stage, you can take it, and when you break through the out-of-body stage, you will have a 50% chance. How about it? The old man guarding the pavilion began to throw out sugar-coated bullet. These are all level 5 and level 6 medicinal pills. That incomplete pill is a level 7 medicinal pill. A level 7 medicinal pill is only worth these 2 level 5 medicinal pills? It's too worthless. Although Mu Yu was very tempted by the old man's words, he was not a fool. How could a 7th level pill compare to a 5th level pill? This old man obviously wanted to take advantage of Mu Yu's lack of contact with pills and wanted to fool him. The old man guarding the pavilion rolled his eyes and said, "Boy, do you think a 5th level pill is so easy to refine? A 5th level pill is already something that the world crazily wants. You just fuse the incomplete pills, not refined by you. Isn't this enough? Oh, then I don't want it. You can fuse the incomplete pills yourself." Mu Yu stood up and leisurely prepared to leave. "Damn, you little bastard, why are you like a dead tree?" Sure enough, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. The old man guarding the pavilion gnashed his teeth and continued, "I will also give you the Bone Emperor Heavenly Pill. This is a 6th level pill that I refined. After taking it, you will be unharmed even if you are attacked by a spirit-severing stage cultivator within a quarter of an hour. It is equivalent to putting a layer of invincible shield on you." Mu Yu was shocked. Wow, this is a good thing. Although the effect of the pill was only for a quarter of an hour, with his current pitiful strength of the 3rd heavenly layer of the nascent soul stage, he couldn't even beat an out-of-body stage cultivator. If he could hold on for a quarter of an hour in the hands of a spirit-severing stage cultivator, wouldn't it be one more life-saving method? What else? Mu Yu continued to ask. Imperial Wind Pill, a 6th level pill. If you take it, you won't even be able to catch up with a spirit-severing stage cultivator. It is specially used for escaping. These are all good things. Mu Yu began to drool. What else? Boy, a man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. A 7th level pill, at least dozens of Imperial Wind Pill and Bone Emperor Heavenly Pill, right? Do you think a 6th level pill is a candy? Dozens of pills? The old man guarding the pavilion slapped the back of Mu Yu's head. Mu Yu shrank in pain, stuffed all the pills to the old man guarding the pavilion, and shouted, "I don't want to fuse them, I don't want to fuse them. You can study those incomplete pills by yourself. I only refined 7 Imperial Wind Pill and 5 Bone Emperor Heavenly Pill. Do you want them or not?" The old man guarding the pavilion was about to explode. He, a dignified combination stage cultivator, was actually blackmailed by a nascent soul stage cultivator. It was really unbearable. However, he couldn't do anything about it. Who let Mu Yu hold the initiative now? Well, let me think about it. You prepare 50 or 60 of those 5th-level pills just now. I also want the 6th-level pills. Then I will fuse a few incomplete pills depending on my mood. Mu Yu knew that if he continued to bargain, he would probably touch the bottom line of the old man guarding the pavilion. At that time, it would be bad, so he began to make concessions. The old man guarding the pavilion took out a pile of bottles and jars, and stuffed them all to Mu Yu. There are only 20 yuan qi gathering pills. I tell you, don't use this carelessly. There will be sequelae. After taking it, it can make a nascent soul stage cultivator exert the strength of an out-of-body stage cultivator. Then, after a day, you will vomit and have diarrhea. No one can stop it. Mu Yu was speechless, but vomiting and having diarrhea didn't seem to be a bad thing. When he was used as a lab rat by Deadwood, he experienced this kind of pain. No matter how many pills there were, he didn't refuse them. He could always use them. One Tai Ching illusionary pill is enough. A nascent soul stage cultivator can only take it once. The Heavenly Bone Emperor pill was refined by me when I was in the spirit severing stage. It is useless to keep it now. Also, there are 50 explosive pills. This explosive pill is a 7th-level explosive pill. If you inject spiritual power into it, it will explode. It is a life-saving method for us alchemists. The old man guarding the pavilion said angrily. Mu Yu happily accepted the pills. If news of this many precious pills were to spread to the cultivation world, she would definitely be hunted to death. He was very clear about the principle that treasuring a jade ring would arouse the envy of others. Once people knew that he couldn't keep these pills with his cultivation, he would have to spend every day running. Thinking about it, alchemists were really king rich. No wonder so many people wanted to be an alchemist. If there was a desperado who robbed an alchemist one day, it would be enough for him to squander for a lifetime. However, alchemists had too many life-saving methods. Just the explosive pills were fun. Robbing an alchemist meant that he would have to pay a painful price. It was better not to provoke them if he could. He also knew a little about explosive pills. Generally, alchemists would refine explosive pills for self-defense. Explosive pills were refined with some strong herbs. Once it was stimulated by spiritual power, it would explode with powerful destructive power. Alchemists were very weak in combat and relied on explosive pills to protect themselves. In fact, it was not so troublesome to refine explosive pills. All alchemists could refine it. The explosive pills refined by different alchemists had different strength. The explosive pills refined by high-level alchemists would definitely be able to display a higher strength. However, the destructive power of explosive pills was also relative to the user. With the spiritual power of the nascent soul stage, it could only explode with the power of the nascent soul stage. For example, a 4th-level explosive pill was useless for a 5th-level alchemist, but a 5th-level explosive pill was effective for a 4th-level alchemist. Although it could only exert the power of the nascent soul stage, it was refined by an out-of-body alchemist. Its power was much greater than a 4th-level explosive pill. The 7th-level explosive pill, refined by the old man, was definitely for his own use. As long as it was stimulated by the spiritual power of the unification stage, it could definitely exert the power of the unification stage. Mu Yu was now only in the nascent soul stage. If he used a 7th-level explosive pill, it could only exert the power of the nascent soul stage. It was a bit of a waste, but the power would definitely be heaven-defying. Okay, I will help you fuse with the death pill. Mu Yu smiled and picked up the death pill that was not completed that day. Chapter 210. Once a person lost an arm or a leg, it would be impossible to grow it back. Unless you still had a broken limb, you could use the intermittent grass to reattach it. However, most people's broken limbs could not be preserved perfectly. For a cultivator, if an arm was broken during a fight, it would definitely be crushed. It was basically impossible to keep it intact. Once an important organ was lost, it would not be able to grow back. This was the magic of the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill. The White Jade Injury Recovery Pill could completely restore the missing parts of a person's body. Not only could it make a person whole, but it could also restore the person to their best condition. This was also the time when the person's physical fitness was at its peak. This meant that if a person had a hidden disease that was difficult to get rid of, after taking the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill, they would be completely healed. What do you want the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill for? Muyu asked. The old man stammered for a long time. Muyu still did not understand what he was talking about. The old man seemed to have something that was difficult to say. Finally, he said, "Why do you care? You've already taken the benefit. Hurry up and fuse it for me. Also, you must record the process in detail. As long as you know how to deal with the herb resistance, I can refine the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill in batches." Who lost an arm or a leg? Muyu always felt that the old man was a little guilty. To be honest, it was impossible to refine the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill in batches without Muyu's help. If Muyu refined it in batches, wouldn't he have to squeeze his blood dry? Well, there's no harm in telling you. No one lost an arm or a leg. I think you should also know the drawbacks of being an alchemist, right? In order to refine the herb resistance, it caused a lot of wood dregs to accumulate in the body. These wood dregs will seriously affect our cultivation. Back then, I also spent a lot of effort to step into the unification stage. But now, my cultivation can't go any further. It's the same for Yundan. This has become our biggest problem. For the future of the sect, we have to solve the problem caused by the wood dregs. As long as we take the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill, these wood dregs will automatically be cleaned up. At that time, we will be able to step into a higher realm and refine higher-grade pills. The old man sighed. Wood dregs. Muyu blinked. He felt as if he had picked up a treasure again. The wood dregs troubled all the alchemists, but that did not include him. Damn it. Although the ability to control wood was something that only the hated Muyu possessed, and Muyu had to carefully conceal himself every time, this ability had always brought him a lot of convenience, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Whether it was incomplete pills or wood dregs, he could deal with as many as he wanted. I know you have a wood attribute physique, 1 in a million. You're the same as that brat Kumu. You've taken the unorthodox path, so you don't need to be affected by the wood dregs. Kumu tested the poison with his own body, causing his spiritual power to be poisonous. You'd better not do that, the old man warned seriously. I can help you. The corners of Muyu's mouth curled into a smile. Expelling wood dregs for alchemists was his specialty. A wood attribute physique was nothing, he could do it with a wave of his hand. It was much more powerful than any wood attribute physique. The old man shook his head and said, "You're just a little bastard at the nascent soul stage now. It will take another few decades for you to be able to help us expel wood dregs. At that time, many people in the Danding sect will no longer be around, and I will definitely be in my coffin." "So you're afraid of death?" Muyu said disdainfully. "Pay, little bastard, how can you say that? I'm not afraid of death, it's just that there aren't many 7th-rank alchemists in the Danding sect. Basically, there are only a few of us and that brat Yundan left. Yao Wuji and Shi Dengtian are both 6th-rank alchemists. If they can't become 7th-rank alchemists before we pass away, then in a few decades, only Yundan will be left as a 7th-rank alchemist in the Danding sect. The future of the Danding sect will be bleak." The old man was helpless. After a while, he said angrily, "Originally, Kumu had the highest chance of becoming a 7th-rank alchemist. His talent was the highest. Unfortunately, that bastard took the wrong path and ended up like this. Serves him right." Hey, old man, he's still my master. What do you mean by ending up like this? Kumu knows much more than you all," Muyu said unhappily. Damn it, if Kumu is your master, then I'm still your martial ancestor, right? Don't be rude. What he knows is all taught by me. The old man slapped the back of Mu Yu's head again. Mu Yu snorted. He could treat Kumu as his master, but it didn't mean that he would treat the old man in front of him as his martial ancestor. Kumu learned a lot of things by himself. It was very different from what the old man taught him. Moreover, his real master was a true god from the third layer of the continent. He was many times more powerful than this old man. Actually, you don't have to go through so much trouble to refine the white jade injury recovery pill. Aren't you just troubled by Kumu dregs? What's so difficult about that? I'll help you. Mu Yu curled his lips and said, Little bastard, you're making fun of me again. Don't think that you can boast just because you fused with an incomplete pill. The old man began to scold Mu Yu again. Mu Yu wasn't angry. He said, Old man, don't you know how Medicine Master broke through to the spirit severing stage this time? The old man was stunned. He was also a little curious. In fact, Yao Wuji's talent was the lowest among Kumu, Yundan, and the others. The others had already broken through to the spirit severing stage. Only Yao Wuji remained in the out-of-body stage. For some reason, Yao Wuji went into seclusion the last time. He came back and finally stepped into the spirit severing stage. What? Is it related to you? The old man still didn't believe that Mu Yu had such great ability. I once met Medicine Master in Lan Shi City and helped him a little. Forget it, you can ask him about the specific process. I can prove it to you first. Mu Yu grabbed the old man's hand. The old man frowned. He originally wanted to refuse, but thinking that Mu Yu's little nascent soul stage strength couldn't do any harm to him, he didn't resist. Mu Yu pulled the old man's rough fingers. Seeing that the old man didn't cooperate, he shouted, Don't move. Kid, don't make trouble. Stop. If you transfer your spirit power into my body, I can't guarantee that I won't hurt you. Hurry up. The old man didn't finish his words and then widened his eyes. Under Mu Yu's guidance, the wood dregs in the old man's thumb seemed to be summoned by something and moved towards the point where Mu Yu's spirit power converged. His finger instantly turned green. These were the wood dregs that had troubled him for many years. Although it was only a small amount, it was impossible for him to make the wood dregs in his body obediently. But Mu Yu could actually do it. You, how did you do it? The old man's face was full of disbelief and his eyes were about to pop out. Why are you stuttering like Elder Kumu? Mu Yu laughed in his heart and then said, Cut your own finger. Hurry up, your skin is too thick. I can't cut it. The old man's other hand touched his thumb and the skin on his finger was cut. A green light was drawn out by Mu Yu and slowly gathered into a pile in the air. Mu Yu casually pinched it and turned it into a dark green ball. The old man had more wood dregs in his body than Medicine Master. He should have died long ago. It was not easy for him to live until now. How is this possible? The old man was shocked. He stared blankly at the dark green wood dregs in front of him. His reaction was even bigger than Medicine Master's. He pulled at his beard, almost pulling it out. Then he turned his shocked gaze to Mu Yu. You. The old man moved his thumb. After confirming that the numbness had disappeared, he grabbed Mu Yu like a madman and shook him. Heavens, my little ancestor, how did you do it? At the beginning, he called Mu Yu little bastard. Now he called him little ancestor. It could be seen that Mu Yu's heaven-defying ability shocked the old man greatly. To be able to solve the body defects of a high-level alchemist, this kind of person was born to be an alchemist's little ancestor. If Mu Yu could remove all the wood dregs from the Danding sect's 7th-rank alchemists, then the Danding sect might be able to produce an 8th-rank alchemist. This was something that hadn't appeared for hundreds of years. Put it down, I'm going to die. Mu Yu was dizzy from being shaken. This old bastard's reaction was too intense. No, my little ancestor, if you have this ability, You must help us. If you help us, you will be our Danding Sect's benefactor in the future." The old man jumped up ecstatically. "Oh, it's not impossible to help you. Unfortunately, I don't have a good impression of the Danding Sect. You see, old man Kumu has no cultivation and was bullied by you. I have also been tricked by you. How can I want to help you? I only reluctantly helped Medicine Master because of Kai Lai's face. Who would have thought that Medicine Master would enter the spirit-severing stage all of a sudden?" Muyu spread out his hands. It was a typical case of taking advantage of others but still acting innocent. "Little ancestor, you misunderstood. You see, our Danding Sect is even more beautiful. Everyone's heart is very beautiful. How can you not have a good impression of us? We did so much just to let you get a place in the second layer of heaven more justifiably. You see, we didn't make things difficult for you, did we?" The old man looked at Muyu as if he was a rare treasure in the world. Muyu felt uncomfortable. He thought about how Yao Wuji knew about Muyu's ability, but he didn't say anything? This bastard, I must break his legs. It's okay to say that the mountain is beautiful and the water is beautiful, but forget about the person. Muyu said, "Old man, I also need to use my spiritual power to do this. I can't help you for at least 3 days after helping you get these wood dregs out. I think it will take half a year to clean up the messy wood dregs on your body." Muyu could actually clean it up directly, but this kind of thing was too abnormal. Besides, the more chips he had, the more things he could extort from this old man. How could he spend all his chips in one go? The old man quickly nodded and said, "It's okay, it's okay. With your ability, it will be much faster than me making the White Jade Injury Recovery Pill. The White Jade Injury Recovery Pill requires a lot of materials and is basically hard to find. You are the dawn of our Danding Sect. If you have any other requests, just say it. Danding Sect can basically satisfy you. If you still want any pills, I will give them to you." The old man even generously gave Muyu a few more bottles of pills. Muyu knew that this old man must have a lot of treasures on him. Just now, he was trying to hide them. If she didn't give him some benefits, she wouldn't be able to get anything out of him. "Okay, I can still guide the wood dregs out of your 2 hands today. But it will take 3 days. What do you think?" Muyu felt that he had achieved his goal. He inadvertently scared the old man. In the future, no one would dare to do anything to the dead wood. Chapter 211. Over the next few days, the old man guarding the pavilion basically came to greet Muyu every day. He was unaccountably solicitous, so naturally, he wanted to leave a good impression on Muyu. At the same time, he also quarreled with Kumu. Deadwood was annoyed. He could cultivate again now, so he had been meditating. However, he was always interrupted by the old man. "You better not accidentally reveal your ability to control wood. This is not a joke. There is a legend in the 3rd continent. Most cultivators will not trust you. You must be careful about anything related to Yumeng." Deadwood already knew the reason why the old man came to Muyu. Although he did not object to Muyu helping the old man to expel the wood dregs, he still wanted Muyu to be careful. "Yes, that's right. I heard from senior sister that another city was attacked by Yumeng 2 days ago. Tian Ran came to Danding Sect with her senior sister to enter the second layer of heaven. These days, she ran to Muyu if she had nothing to do. She also knew about Muyu's ability, but her father chose to believe in Muyu. Naturally, she would also believe in Muyu." Muyu nodded. He understood this point, so every time he sent the wood dregs to the old man, he would not do it wholeheartedly. He would only do a little at a time. Green water would flow forever. Muyu gave 1 Bone Emperor pill to Deadwood and 1 to Tianran. Then, he extorted 1 from the old man. He already knew that the old man would not take out all of them. He must have kept something. Is the second layer of heaven as big as the 3rd continent? These days, more and more sects gathered in Danding's sect, preparing to enter the second layer of heaven. Mu Yu still didn't know much about the second layer of heaven. Although Dead Tree had given him a map of the second layer of heaven, and even marked out where to find the netherworld grass and the 9-chi soul cleansing flower, the map was still very vague. This map was drawn by Deadwood when he entered the second layer of heaven. After so many years, the second layer of heaven should have changed. However, Kumu said that when they entered the second heaven, the sect leader would give everyone a map. That was the full picture of the second heaven. Kumu's map was only a small area and relatively more detailed. The second layer of heaven and the third layer of heaven are both small worlds of their own. It's hard to say whether it's big or small. To enter the second layer of heaven, one needed to rely on the teleportation array. The teleportation array was passed down from ancient times. Originally, there was also a teleportation array in the second layer of heaven, but it was destroyed over the years. Therefore, you must keep the jade pendant well. If you encounter any danger, crush the jade pendant and the teleportation array will send you back instantly. You can lose anything but the jade pendant. Otherwise, you won't be able to return to the 3 continent, the Dead Tree said solemnly. Tian Ran already knew this. Before she came, her mother had already told her. However, the jade pendant was kept by the Pill Cauldron sect, so she didn't get the jade pendant now. Brother Mu Yu, you have to be careful. The deaths of Fast Sword and Slow Sword are related to you. The 2 of them are the proud sons of heaven of the younger generation of Sword Cleansing Valley, but they didn't want to die in your hands. In addition, some people found that Distant Sword died near Misty Breath City a while ago, so Sword Cleansing Valley is going crazy with anger. They will definitely look for the murderer one by one. They don't know about Yuanjin's death, but Fast Sword and Slow Sword are related to you. Tian Ran said with some worry. Will the Sword Cleansing Valley also enter the second layer of heaven? Mu Yu didn't know how many sects would enter the second layer of heaven. Yuanjin's death had nothing to do with him. Moreover, he was found dead more than a year ago. He was really pitiful. As for the 2 so-called peerless prides, they were just a joke in his eyes. Although he spent a lot of effort to kill them, his cultivation was only during the Jindan period, which was enough for him to be proud of. In addition to the 8 gates and the Pill Cauldron sect, there are also the Sword Cleansing Valley, Luosha Mansion, Mystical Wood sect, and Void Valley. A total of 13 sects will enter the second layer of heaven. You also have to pay attention to the people from the Stargate. Last time, there were also disciples from the Stargate who died on the floating immortal island. Needless to say, the gate of hell is not friendly to anyone. Tian Ran said. Pay special attention to the Stargate. The reason why Shi Dengtian agreed to let you enter the second layer of heaven is because he wants to get the dragon vine from you. The leader of the Stargate is Shi Dengtian's son-in-law. The 2 sects will definitely work together to deal with you. Kumu said. Is Shi Dengtian so sure that I will bring the dragon vine into the second layer of heaven? Mu Yu asked. Regardless of whether you bring the dragon vine in or not, he will definitely find a way to deal with you. This is because when we were young, he and I had a very deep conflict. He has 2 sons and a daughter. The eldest son is Shi Minghui's father, and the daughter is the wife of the leader of the Stargate. He also has a younger son who was playful when he was 5 years old. He stole my things when I was not around. He was poisoned to death by the herbs in my room, so he has been unwilling to let me go. You are my disciple, and your performance is so amazing. He will definitely kill you in the cradle to take revenge on me. Kumu said meaningfully. Wow, old man, aren't you pushing me into a fire pit? Mu Yu became an innocent victim again. No wonder Shi Dengtian always disliked Kumu. It turned out that there was such a complicated conflict mixed in. The death of Shi Dengtian's son had nothing to do with Kumu. However, he was poisoned to death by Kumu's herbs. Therefore, Shi Dengtian was unwilling to let Ku Mu go. The reason why he agreed to let Mu Yu enter the second layer of heaven was because only in the second layer of heaven would he have the opportunity to make a move on Mu Yu. He wanted Ku Mu to taste the pain of losing someone close to him. Shi Dengtian did not dare to blatantly take revenge on Ku Mu in the Danding sect. After entering the second layer of heaven, you must find the netherworld grass and 9 chi soul cleansing flower as soon as possible. Then, crush the jade pendant and return here. Don't give them any chance to make a move. Ku Mu said seriously. What else could Mu Yu say? He had to go to the second layer of heaven. He was not afraid of those people playing any tricks in the second layer of heaven. The highest cultivation level in the second layer of heaven was the nascent soul stage. He had even broken through a place like the floating immortal island. Why would he be afraid of Shi Mingwei and the others? Don't worry, I will find you when the time comes. It is safer for the two of us to be together. Tianran said. Why? Can't we be together after entering? Mu Yu asked strangely. Tianran shook her head and said, because the teleportation formation in the second layer of heaven has been destroyed long ago. So, when we enter from here, we will be teleported to a random location. If we are lucky, we will be teleported to a safe place. If we are unlucky, we might be teleported to a nest of demonic beasts. That would not be good. Mu Yu stuck out his tongue in astonishment. If he was teleported to a nest of a 7th or 8th rank demonic beast, would he still be able to escape in time? I hope I will be directly teleported to the side of the netherworld grass or 9 chi soul cleansing flower. Mu Yu looked at the map carefully. Looking at the location of the netherworld grass and 9 chi soul cleansing flower, he could not help but think gloomily. The possibility of this happening was too small. It was basically impossible for it to happen. I will also make a copy of this map. When the time comes, I will go there to look for you. Tianran obtained Ku Mu's permission and took out a piece of rice paper and started to make a copy of the map. Ku Mu kept staring at Tianran. When Tianran came here, he would always stare at her in a daze. Tianran and Miao Yuyan looked too similar. Miao Yuyan was the person that Ku Mu loved. In his heart, he could not let go of that feeling. Old pervert, she is still just a child. Mu Yu waved his hand in front of Ku Mu's eyes. Ku Mu's face flushed red. He slapped Mu Yu's head and scolded, "Shut up! I don't have any thoughts. I just think she looks like her mother." Mu Yu smiled and rubbed his head. Of course, he knew Ku Mu's temperament. However, Mu Yu had always been curious about the love and hatred between Ku Mu, Miao Yuan, and Feng Haochen. Ku Mu was not willing to talk about it in detail. At the mention of Feng Haochen, Ku Mu gritted his teeth, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. In fact, Ku Mu was also a pitiful person. The person he liked didn't like him. For the person he liked, he had to save his love rival. He had been alone all his life and was afraid of delaying Ling Bingshu. He was unwilling to lay his cards on the table with his childhood sweetheart. He was indeed a person with low EQ. Now, he had fallen to the point where he had to cultivate from the beginning. In the Pill Cauldron sect or the cultivation world, he was not welcomed by anyone. Only Mu Yu and Tianran would not reject this poor old man. "Old man, are you really not going to accept Elder Ling Han?" Mu Yu said. Ku Mu smiled bitterly and said with a lonely expression, "She won't forgive me. I've done so many things to let her down. Now that I'm a cripple, I can't give her anything. Icy Elder has been single for so many years. He must be waiting for you. How could she not forgive you? If she is willing, will you also consider being with Elder Ling Han?" Mu Yu wanted to resolve the conflict between Ku Mu and Ling Bingxue. Ling Bingxue was also the head of a branch of the Pill Cauldron sect. Her cultivation was extraordinary and it was more than enough to protect Ku Mu. Ku Mu sighed and didn't reply. A few years ago, when he found out that Miao Yuyan was pregnant, he already knew that it was impossible between him and Miao Yuyan. He chose to withdraw and let Miao Yuyan and Feng Haochen be together. However, when he found out that Miao Yuyan was imprisoned in the Red Dust sect for life, he couldn't sit back and do nothing. For the person he loved, he chose to save Feng Haochen, whom he hated. Only when Feng Haochen recovered his cultivation could he break into the Red Dust sect and save Miao Yuyan. Ku Mu couldn't do it with his ability. Let's talk about this later. Ku Mu slowly shook his head. Ku Mu didn't know if it was worth it. He helped Feng Haochen recover his cultivation and saved Miao Yuyan. However, he was still the third party. He couldn't get anything. However, he couldn't watch Miao Yuyan suffer. Sometimes when you love someone, it's not to get them but to make them happy. Tian Ran stood up and walked over. She hugged Ku Mu and said, "Senior, no matter what, I will always thank you for what you've done for us." "Thank you." Ku Mu was stunned. His body stiffened. He was a loner. No one had ever hugged him. When Tian Ran hugged him tightly, he suddenly felt that everything he did wasn't in vain. "Are you willing to be my godfather? I think my mother will definitely agree." Tian Ran said seriously. "Godfather?" Ku Mu's dead heart seemed to be lit by a fire. A warm current pulsed in his heart. He had always had a bad reputation in the cultivation world. No one really cared about his feelings until Mu Yu appeared. Although Mu Yu was always angry with him, when he was down and out, Mu Yu didn't leave him. Instead, she helped him everywhere. In order to save him, she even took the precious rank 7 origin returning pill from the hands of those people from the Pill Cauldron School. One was his enemy's disciple, the other was his enemy's daughter. Both of them really cared about him. Why did that bastard Feng Haochen have such luck? Ku Mu was very jealous. However, he liked the feeling of being cared for. Ku Mu was stunned for a moment. He turned to Mu Yu and shouted, "Did you see that? She called me godfather. You brat, you're always so rude. Can't you learn a little?" Mu Yu rolled his eyes and said, "I can't let you call me godfather, right?" Chapter 212. A total of 13 sects were going to enter the second layer of heaven, so there were more and more unfamiliar faces in the Danding sect these days. People from all the sects came to the Danding sect one after another. Every sect had 5 spots, and the Danding sect had 6. This meant that 66 nascent soul disciples would enter the second layer of heaven through the transmission array. Mu Yu stood with 5 other people. Of the 5 disciples of the Danding sect, he knew 3 of them. One was naturally the sloppy Kai Lai, who had the best relationship with Mu Yu. The other was the guy Mu Yu hated the most, Shi Minghui. When Shi Minghui looked at Mu Yu, he always showed a vicious expression. He must have planned some conspiracy long ago and was waiting for him. When Shi Minghui had been threatened by the old man, he had obediently fulfilled the terms of the bet. This matter had spread throughout the entire Pill Cauldron School. Naturally, he hated Mu Yu to the core. The other was Bi Wenchuan. He didn't interact much with Mu Yu, but he was also an easygoing person. Mu Yu didn't have any hostility towards him. There was also a girl from Ling Bingshue's sect named Dao Ye. Mu Yu had never seen her before. For some reason, Dao Ye always gave Mu Yu a cold shadow, which made him wonder if all the disciples of Ling Bingxue had the same cold expression. The last one was from Yundan Daoist sect. It was said that he was the most talented person in the younger generation of the Danding sect. His name was Lien Tianyu. Not only had his cultivation reached the 9th layer of nascent soul, but he was also an alchemist who could refine 5th-tier pills. Lien Tianyu looked very gentle and quiet, without any arrogance or extravagance. He didn't give off a bad feeling. Kai Lai told Mu Yu that Lien Tianyu was a rare alchemy genius, and he was a role model for all the disciples of the Danding sect. It was just that he usually kept a low profile and never even went to the floating immortal island. He liked to quietly study pills. As they were talking, Lien Tianyu walked towards Mu Yu and said, Are you Martial Uncle Kumu's disciple, Junior Martial Brother Muyu? Muyu nodded and said, Greetings, Senior Brother Lien Tianyu. Junior Brother, you don't have to be so courteous. Since Junior Brother is able to fuse with an incomplete pill, you are much more powerful than me. If you have time, Junior Brother, please don't hesitate to teach me. As alchemists, there will always be pills that we are unable to refine. Junior Brother has completed the incomplete pill that Senior Zhiyang Daoist was unable to complete in his entire life. Such talent is truly enviable, Lien Tianyu said. Lien Tianyu's words didn't have any intention of provocation. Instead, he was genuinely asking for advice. This made Muyu heave a sigh of relief. He didn't want to have conflicts with people everywhere in the Dan Cauldron School. What's more, he didn't know how to refine pills at all. He could concoct poison, but refining pills was his weakness. Senior Brother, you flatter me, Muyu said modestly. Taoist Yundan slowly walked over and glanced at Muyu. He already knew from the old man that Muyu could help them get rid of the wood dregs in their bodies. This wasn't a small matter for Taoist Yundan. He even specifically looked for Yao Wuji to verify it. Only then did he believe it. Taoist Yundan attached great importance to Muyu's ability. When Muyu returned from the second layer of heaven, he would definitely ask Muyu to stay behind and help the rank 7 alchemists in the Dan Cauldron School deal with the pain caused by the wood dregs. He was willing to pay any price. Before coming here, your master must have already explained this matter to everyone. I won't repeat it. Everyone must remember to be careful. There are many precious herbs in the second layer of heaven, but there are also many powerful demonic beasts. It's a wasteland with many dangerous demonic beasts. If you don't have extravagant demands for herbs, you can also find a safe place to concentrate on cultivating. The spiritual energy in the second layer of heaven is several times more abundant than in the third layer of heaven. Cultivating there will yield twice the results with half the effort. Taoist Yundan glanced at the 6 people. Each of them had high talent and were the future hope of the Dan Cauldron School. Naturally, he didn't want any accidents to happen to them. Taoist Yundan paused for a moment before continuing. But there's one thing you must remember. Don't break through to the out-of-body stage in the second layer of heaven. Others may not, but Lien Tianyu, you're already in the 9th layer of nascent soul stage, so you must remember this. Because the teleportation array is old, it can only teleport people below the out-of-body stage. Out-of-body stage people can't use the teleportation array. If you want to go in and out, you must remember this. Among these people, Lien Tianyu's cultivation was the highest, followed by Bi Wenshuan and Dao Ye, who were in the 7th and 6th layer of nascent soul stage respectively. Although Shi Minghui had a conflict with Muyu, he was also in the 5th layer of nascent soul stage. Muyu was only in the 3rd layer of nascent soul stage, but his combat strength was much higher than many people in the Dan Cauldron School. The alchemists of the Dan Cauldron School only knew how to refine pills and rarely fought with others. They were a little bookish. Kai Lai's cultivation was the lowest. He was the youngest among these people. He had just stepped into the nascent soul stage and was only in the 1st layer of nascent soul stage. Recently, he had been locked up at home by the medicine master and was forced to learn a lot about survival in the wild. He didn't know how much this guy had taken in. Take the jade pendant. This is very important. Without it, you won't be able to come back. No one can save you. Taoist Yundan solemnly handed the jade pendant to everyone. This jade pendant was warm and translucent, flashing with light. There was a cauldron engraved on it. It was heavy in their hands. Muyu looked at this jade pendant over and over again. This was their pass. Naturally, he had to cherish it. He quickly put it into his heaven and earth in the sleeve. Little Shuai was squatting in his arms. Muyu let the dragon vine follow Deadwood. Yesterday, when he was removing the wood dregs from the old man's body, he threatened the old man to secretly protect Deadwood. If he lost a finger, he wouldn't be able to help him solve the wood dregs problem. The old man reluctantly agreed. Now that Mu Yu was the little ancestor of the Dan Cauldron School, he couldn't refuse. In fact, even if Mu Yu didn't say it, the old man had an unusual relationship with dead wood. He wouldn't let anything happen to dead wood. With the old man around, dead wood shouldn't be in any danger. Remember, the time inside is 2 months. After 2 months, the teleportation array will enter a dormant period. The next time it opens is 10 years later. Therefore, you must come back before the teleportation array enters a dormant period, Taoist Yundan said again. Then, he motioned for Mu Yu and the others to follow him. They landed on a mountain peak. This mountain peak was relatively low and looked ordinary. However, when Mu Yu landed in the forest, he found that there were many experts hidden in the surrounding forest. Their auras were at least at the nascent soul stage. These people should be sent by the Dan Cauldron School to guard the teleportation array. After walking through the forest, they arrived in front of a cave. This cave looked very narrow. It could only accommodate 2 people walking side by side. Taoist Yundan took the lead and entered the cave. The others followed. Every time they walked a distance, the stone wall next to them would sink. There was a masked man in black standing there. Every man in black was at the nascent soul stage. It was really frightening. The path in the cave led downward. They went around a stone staircase and went down step by step. After walking for a long time, the path in front of them suddenly became open. A light shone in front of them. Mu Yu saw a flowing blue barrier in front of him. It was as thin as a water curtain. There was a faint mysterious aura coming from it. When you walk through this water curtain defensive array, don't use your spiritual power. Otherwise, you will be obstructed. Taoist Yundan walked straight to the water curtain defensive array. He took a deep breath and disappeared into the blue water curtain. The others followed him and came to a huge karst cave. This karst cave could accommodate hundreds of people and was dozens of meters high. At this moment there were many people in the karst cave. They were dressed differently from the people from the Pill Cauldron sect. They were whispering to each other. When they saw Taoist Yundan, they stopped and greeted him. Taoist Yundan also responded politely. Most of these people were disciples of sects who were about to enter the second heaven. Mu Yu glanced around and saw a few familiar faces. Stargate's young gate master Tian Yun. When the people from the Pill Cauldron sect came in, his gaze fell on Mu Yu. Back in the Mist Breath City, Mu Yu did not go easy on him. The female disciples of the Jade sect were also present. There was the immortal sister, Meng Xian, and Ro Anna, who was taken advantage of by Mu Yu. It had to be said that the women of the Jade sect had a kind of otherworldly beauty. They were as pure and holy as a lotus flower. Many young talents were infatuated with them. When Mu Yu saw Tian Ran waving at him, he smiled. Most of the female disciples of the Red Dust sect were wearing very revealing clothes. The smiles on their faces were also very wanton. Only Tian Ran was dressed very conservatively. She wore a green dress today and looked very lively. Mu Yu also felt many unfriendly gazes sweeping over him. When Mu Yu caused havoc on the floating immortal island, many people actually saw him. The news of Mu Yu becoming the successor of the dead tree had also spread. Presumably, many people had heard about Mu Yu's deeds in the Pill Cauldron sect. Although the incident on the floating immortal island happened a long time ago, a few people died in the hands of Mu Yu. Those people were the heaven's favored children of some sections. Before their wings were fully developed, they died in the hands of Mu Yu. Naturally, they harbored hatred for Mu Yu. Unfortunately, our Mu Yu was relatively ignorant and inexperienced. He didn't know the names of many people present. He also had an indifferent attitude. The second layer of heaven was so big. He might not even be able to meet them. If they liked to hate, then so be it. Anyway, Mu Yu didn't lose anything if they looked at him a few more times. In the center of the karst cave was a simple stone platform that had experienced the vicissitudes of life. There were all kinds of array patterns carved on it. Although Mu Yu had learned about arrays from the dead tree, he still couldn't understand the principles of this array. It was said that this array was passed down from ancient times. Many of the array patterns were already blurred. Nowadays, people had been trying to find ways to study it. After all, it was an existence that could allow cultivators to enter another world. Taoist Yundan had already landed on the stone platform. Everyone also quieted down and looked at him. He said loudly, "Everyone, after the array is activated, everyone will enter one by one. Everyone will be teleported to a different location. If you encounter any danger, crush the jade pendant and return as soon as possible. The time limit is 2 months. Do not delay. Otherwise, you will have to wait 10 years before coming out." Suddenly, a bright light flashed in Taoist Yundan's hand and entered the center of the stone platform. At the same time, the top of the karst cave also sent a majestic spiritual power from 4 directions and gathered on the stone platform. Mu Yu discovered that there were also 4 seniors at the combination stage hiding above the karst cave. Mu Yu had never seen these 4 people before. They must be the legendary 7th-rank alchemists like Taoist Yundan and the old man guarding the pavilion. The stone platform flashed with a dazzling golden light. A vast aura rose from the stone platform and poured into the top of the karst cave. Then, it flowed down along the carvings on the walls of the karst cave. As if cast in bronze, the entire karst cave was dazzling and resplendent. 8 mysterious light screens suddenly appeared around the stone platform. The complex ancient characters on them were flickering and overflowing with light. Then, a spiritual power that made people's minds rippled from the center of the stone platform. It seemed to lead to another world. "You can enter now." Taoist Yundan had already left the stone platform and stood outside. His face was slightly pale. It was obvious that opening the array consumed a lot of his spiritual power. Soon, many people flew up at the same time and headed toward the light screen of the stone platform. As soon as they entered the stone platform, their figures disappeared into the light screen. "I hope we are not too far away." Kai Lai patted Mu Yu's shoulder and set off with Mu Yu. Chapter 213. Mu Yu tried to regain his footing in a daze, but the world spun and he eventually fell to the ground. After a long time, he recovered and found himself sitting on a pile of gravel. There was also a damp, salty smell. He didn't know where he was in the 2nd layer of heaven, but fortunately, he wasn't teleported to a demonic beast's lair. Otherwise, it would be too late to escape. "I really hate this feeling," Little Shuai mumbled as it poked its head out of Mu Yu's arms. It was also dizzy from the teleportation array. When they came out of the Moyun mountain range, Yumeng's teleportation array was also like this. However, it was also because of this that Little Shuai was pulled out of its thick eggshell. Is this the 2nd layer of heaven? What a rich spirit chi! A rich spirit chi pounced on Mu Yu's body, making him feel refreshed. He took a deep breath and felt that the spirit chi in his body was circulating much faster. The spirit chi here was many times richer than in the 3rd layer of heaven. No wonder so many people wanted to enter the 2nd layer of heaven. If they cultivated here, they could indeed improve their cultivation quickly. Mu Yu stood up and looked around. At this moment, he was in a desert. Waves hit the reef, and there was an endless blue sea in the distance. Seabirds flew on the surface of the sea. Occasionally, 1 or 2 demonic beasts would rush out of the water and then fall back to the bottom of the sea. He was lucky. If the teleportation location was a little more remote, he would have fallen into the sea and swam. Behind him was a swamp filled with fog. He didn't know how long it would take to get out. Mu Yu took out the map and compared it. He found that he was in a very remote place. If he wanted to find the 9 Chi soul cleansing flower, He would have to pass through this swamp. The fog in the swamp was very deep. Muyu looked around and didn't find any poisonous gas in the fog. He could be considered a poison expert now, so he wasn't afraid of any abnormalities in the fog. Muyu stepped on the flying sword. He planned to fly up. However, when he looked up, he found that the sky above the swamp was full of birds. These birds were all 3rd and 4th rank demonic beasts. Muyu hadn't seen any demonic beasts that could threaten him, but for safety's sake, he decided to fly lower. Muyu stroked a short-necked tree. He wanted to blend into the trees, but he was surprised to find that the trees here had a repulsive force against him. Although he was able to merge with the trees, he felt very awkward. His speed in the plants was much slower than when he was in the 3rd heaven. In the end, he had no choice but to choose to fly out of the trees. His ability to control would seem to be suppressed in the 2nd layer of heaven, which made him very dissatisfied. I keep feeling that this place is very familiar. Little Shuai sniffled and said in confusion. Don't tell me you're the guy that Master carried out from the 2nd heaven? Muyu mocked. Little Shuai shook his head. I don't think so. I just think there's a familiar smell. I can't tell where it's coming from. A familiar smell? What's that smell? It smells like fried soybeans. You only know how to eat, Muyu said snappily. After flying for a period of time, the surrounding sounds of insects rose and fell. Many of the animals could be seen in the 3rd heaven. After turning around the brambles, Muyu was surprised to see a 4 to 5 meter tall demonic beast skeleton. This is the Sky Wolf, a rank 4 demonic beast. Why is it so big? Muyu carefully examined the skeleton of this demonic beast. The heaven-distant wolf in the 3rd heaven was only the size of a horse, but this heaven-distant wolf skeleton was the size of a house. Then, wouldn't its body be even bigger? Muyu continued forward. After walking for a distance, he actually found another mystic refining illusion tiger. Its skeleton was also extremely abnormal. He flew up and caught a snow-wind sparrow. The snow-wind sparrow was a rank 1 demonic beast. It was only the size of a fist in the 3rd heaven, but it was as big as an eagle here. Muyu finally discovered the abnormality of the 2nd layer of heaven. All the demonic beasts he saw in the 2nd layer of heaven were bigger than the demonic beasts he saw before. Could it be because of the rich spirit chi here? Just when Muyu landed on the ground, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He immediately dodged with vigilance. His body tilted slightly, and a thick snake tail swung at his original position, almost turning him into a meat patty. Muyu focused his eyes and secretly cursed his bad luck. It was actually a purple caltrop python. This purple caltrop python's entire body was glowing with a purple light. Its hard scales were upside down and incomparably sharp. These scales were normally stuck to the body, but once it fought with the enemy, it would become a great killing weapon. The purple caltrop python was a rank 4 demonic beast. Muyu had seen it before in the Withered Tree Valley, but it was not as big as this one. Muyu was afraid that he was accidentally targeted by it. He did not want to get entangled with the purple caltrop python. After all, it was a rank 4 demonic beast. Once a fight broke out, it would take a lot of effort. He did not know what other demonic beasts were eyeing this place covetously. If he disturbed even more powerful demonic beasts, then he would be complaining incessantly. Big Brother Snake, I'm just passing by. I'll leave immediately. Muyu smiled apologetically. However, the purple caltrop python's bell-like eyes stared fixedly at Muyu. From time to time, it would spit out its tongue. Then, it would open its mouth and spray a sky full of purple mist towards Muyu. Damn! Another unreasonable thing. Muyu let out a strange cry, but he did not dodge. The purple caltrop python's poison was a precious poison. Muyu took out a bottle and poured his spirit power into it. The bottle released a suction force and sucked in all the purple poison. Ha! I like people like you who randomly spit out poison. I'll collect as many as you can, Muyu said proudly. He carved a formation on the bottle that contained the poison. It was specifically used to collect some of the poisonous mist. The purple caltrop python's poison was a very precious thing and had many uses. However, when the purple caltrop python saw that the poisonous mist it was so proud of couldn't do anything to Muyu, it immediately let out a muffled hiss and swung its tail at Muyu. Muyu quickly put away the bottle and called out the shadow clone sword to slash at it. Unfortunately, the shadow clone sword only made a few sparks on the purple caltrop python's body. It was completely useless. Muyu used a rock as a stepping stone to push himself back. He had come here to do something, so there was no need for him to fight a fourth-order monster beast to the death. However, the purple caltrop python did not seem to want Muyu to leave. Its body slid and it chased after him. Ha! I didn't provoke it. Why is it chasing me? Muyu stepped on his flying sword and sped up. Unfortunately, the purple caltrop python's speed was not below his and it slowly closed the distance. You're a nascent soul cultivator. You're a great supplement for it. Little Shuai smacked its lips. Muyu cursed, you're the only one who wants to eat. I might as well have brought dragon vine here. At least it's related to dragons. It can use its dragon aura to help me intimidate these demonic beasts. Little Shuai snorted. The big earthworm isn't a real dragon. It's just an insect with fake dragon aura. The reason Little Shuai didn't like dragon vine was because it thought it was a fake dragon, so it often mocked dragon vine. However, dragon vine's dragon aura was real. Its aura was enough to make many demonic beasts tremble in fear. Then what about you? Other than eating, you're useless, Muyu said disdainfully. Actually, that was an overstatement. Little Shuai was quite powerful. It could see the physical condition of every cultivator and knew some rare knowledge. Little Shuai disagreed. Isn't eating good enough? I can even give you some information. For example, the purple caltrop python's speed is the top among rank 4 demonic beasts. Its skin is thick and invulnerable. Normal nascent soul cultivators can't even leave a mark on its body, let alone take care of it. It won't let go of its prey until it dies, so it's very hard for us to escape. F*ck, thank you. Your information makes me feel very confident. Muyu cursed. He didn't need Little Shuai to tell him to know. He also knew that he had to hit where it hurts. Unfortunately, the purple caltrop python's scales were extremely hard. It wasn't something he could break. Then hurry up. It's very uncomfortable to be bitten by it. Little Shuai kindly reminded him. Muyu wanted to be faster. His speed was already at its limit. However, the purple caltrop python was like a shadow following him. He couldn't shake it off. He really wanted to throw Little Shuai to the purple caltrop python and see if the thick skin of Little Shuai would be bitten by the purple caltrop python. But after thinking about it, he decided against it. Muyu waved his hand and a cactus appeared in his hand. The cactus grew with the wind. Soon, it was big enough to accommodate Muyu's entire body. Behind a rock, using the purple caltrop python's blind spot, he quickly crawled into the cactus. It was very difficult for a level 2 plant to crawl in. Luckily, Muyu brought many plants from level 3. These plants didn't feel that awkward. You can't see me. You can't see me, Muyu muttered in the cactus. Whoosh! The purple python's tail was like a bolt of purple lightning, striking down on the cactus. F*ck, you shouldn't have seen me, Muyu shouted. He crawled out of the cactus and blended into a nearby tree. However, the purple caltrop python saw all of this. Its tail followed like a shadow and cut the tree in half. Muyu fell out in a sorry state. Without saying anything, he rushed into the sky. He wanted to fly up. I forgot to tell you. The purple caltrop python has wings. It can also fly. Little Shuai reminded him again. Can you tell me something I don't know? Muyu quickly lowered his head. The snake's tail brushed past his hair. The purple caltrop python had a pair of thin wings on its abdomen. Strictly speaking, it wasn't flying. It was gliding. Every time it slid a certain distance, it would borrow momentum from the nearby treetops and rush forward. Even so, its speed wasn't much slower than Muyu's. Let me think. I've never eaten a purple caltrop python before. Snake meat is a bit greasy. I didn't like it at all the last time. Snake gallbladder wine might be very nutritious. I want to try the purple caltrop python's gallbladder. Little Shuai was drooling. The worst thing to do when traveling was to bring a foodie companion. It would associate everything with food. How about you crawl into its stomach and pluck its gallbladder? Muyu kicked away the snake's tail. He was also sent flying and blended into the bushes. Unfortunately, for some reason, the purple caltrop python seemed to have recognized Muyu's scent. It bombarded the bushes where Muyu was hiding. He had no choice but to crawl out again. What if it digests me? Your skin is so thick. How could a snake possibly digest you? I heard that handsome little guys are invincible. Don't make me look down on you. Muyu saw more and more poisonous insects and beasts along the way. Many birds had their eyes on Muyu. Unfortunately, when they saw the purple caltrop python behind Muyu, they didn't join in the attack on Muyu. Fine. It can't digest me because I'm handsome. But its stomach is sticky. It's disgusting, Little Shuai muttered. When Muyu heard that, he instantly understood that nothing would happen to Little Shuai. He took out an explosive pill and stuffed it into Little Shuai's hand. Without another word, he grabbed Little Shuai's tail and threw it at the purple caltrop python. It's up to you. The explosive pill will blow me up too. Little Shuai was thrown by Muyu. It cried out in dissatisfaction. Its body flew like a shuttle toward the purple caltrop python. The purple caltrop python opened its mouth and swallowed Little Shuai. Hurry up and pluck its gallbladder. If you can't, use the explosive pill to blast it in its stomach. Once you're done, I'll give you an extra drumstick tonight, Muyu shouted. He landed again and dodged the python's attack. Chapter 214. The purple caltrop python was still chasing after Muyu. It didn't know why a human would throw a small beast into its mouth, but with its bestial nature, it didn't lack an appetizer. It didn't even pant as it continued to chase after Muyu. Little handsome, you can do it. I'll be waiting for you outside. Muyu simply stopped running. He was chased to the edge of a quagmire, which startled a group of blazing porcupines. When the Class 2 beasts saw the purple caltrop python, they all fled in panic, but the purple caltrop python didn't care about them at all. It was clear that Muyu was much more nutritious than the blazing porcupines. It jumped up and bit at Muyu. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant after Little Handsome plucks your gallbladder. Muyu's footsteps were light and graceful. She tapped the snake's head with the tip of her foot and leaped behind the purple caltrop python. However, he didn't dare to step on it because the scales on the purple caltrop python's body were standing upside down. If he stepped on it, he might break a few holes in his foot. Muyu took a step forward and the shadow sword in his hand split into two. The surrounding spirit force began to gather toward the shadow sword in his hand. The roar of a dragon sounded, as if it was descending from the heavens. It went from low to high and a majestic aura spread out from Muyu's shadow sword. The soul-stirring sword energy formed a faint white dragon with the shadow sword as the center. Then, the dragon soared into the sky. The fifth style of the 9 heavenly sword techniques, falling dragon roars to the sky. The moment the white dragon appeared, the purple caltrop python was stunned for a moment. However, it quickly understood that the dragon was only an illusion. It let out an unpleasant hiss and charged at the dragon. Boom! The purple rhombus python collided with the dragon's shadow of the shadow clone sword, and the dragon's shadow was instantly dispersed. Violent spirit force swept down and stirred up the entire quagmire. Suddenly, mud filled the sky, mixed with some blazing porcupines that couldn't escape in time. In the blink of an eye, they were torn apart and their blood mixed with mud fell down. The purple caltrop python had already locked onto Muyu from within the mud. Its tail swept out like a hurricane. Muyu's shadow clone sword blocked in front of his chest, but the python's strength was too great. He couldn't block it and was sent flying, falling into a pool of mud. "Little handsome, why aren't you done yet?" Muyu's body touched the ground, and his entire body's spiritual energy vibrated, causing all the mud to bounce away. The purple caltrop python's battle prowess was too ferocious. He knew that he wouldn't be able to defeat it without paying a price. He had many pills on hand, such as the Yuan Qi gathering pill, which could allow him to exert the power of the out-of-body stage. It was more than enough to kill this purple caltrop python. If not, there was still the sword intent of the nameless swordsman, which was also quite impressive. However, these things all had side effects. If they didn't break an arm, they'd have to lie in bed for a few days, unable to move. In such a dangerous swamp, there was definitely more than one purple caltrop python that was as ferocious as this. It was best not to make yourself too miserable. Little Handsome didn't respond. It probably didn't hear him. Muyu raised his shadow clone sword and charged at the purple caltrop python again. There were many thick-skinned creatures. He didn't believe that this purple caltrop python could be as thick-skinned as Little Handsome. A bolt of lightning faintly stirred above the swamp. Muyu's shadow clone sword once again transformed into 4 swords. Now that he was in the nascent soul stage, all of his Luo Chun sword techniques were more powerful than before. However, the purple caltrop python wasn't an ordinary creature. It wasn't afraid at all. As it hissed, it sprayed poison at Muyu again. "I told you, I'm the master of poison." He didn't even want to collect the purple caltrop python's poison anymore. He just let it come. Ku Mu's poison scripture recorded all kinds of poisons in the world. He could instantly think of 7 or 8 ways to detoxify them. Even if he was poisoned, he could find a piece of wood to filter it. Playing with poison in front of him was a joke. The 7th move of the 9 heavenly sword guides, Dark Thunder Falls. Tao gives birth to all things. A brilliant bolt of lightning struck down from the fog above the swamp. Demonic beasts were most afraid of lightning. As expected, when the purple caltrop python saw the blue lightning, panic flashed through its eyes. It curled up and stacked its body on top of each other. Then, it buried its head in its body. Ah! The lightning filled the purple caltrop python's body. It spasmed and cried out in pain. Its body fell from the sky. Muyu held his second shadow clone sword and flashed in another direction. If he had known that this fellow was so afraid of lightning, he wouldn't have run. He would have just dealt with it directly. Muyu's shadow clone flew out of her hand. The flying sword was as light as a feather. It looked as light as a feather, and it didn't seem to have any power. But this light shadow clone sword was like a giant wave the moment it left her hand. The invisible wind wrapped around the shadow clone sword, and it drew out a sharp sword shadow. It carried the force of 1,000 pounds, and it sent the purple caltrop python flying. It fell into the mud, and a large amount of dirty water splashed out. "Little Handsome, are you still not done? Hurry up and blow it up." Muyu knew that his attack wouldn't do any real damage to the purple caltrop python. Its scales were too thick. There was no way he could break through them. The purple caltrop python hissed and rolled out of the swamp. It pulled away from Muyu and faced off against Muyu. It knew that the human in front of it wasn't to be trifled with. It was very afraid of that lightning. Even with its indestructible body, it would be paralyzed by it. Muyu couldn't kill the purple caltrop python. The purple caltrop python was afraid of lightning. For a moment, the man and the snake didn't move. They just stared at each other. Muyu thought it was a bit funny. If the enemy didn't move, he wouldn't move. Wasn't this the highest level of combat? But at that moment, the purple Caltra python's body suddenly trembled. Its entire body twisted uneasily. It roared at the sky, and streams of black gas came out of its mouth. Aya, my hand shook and accidentally blew up the explosive pill. Cough, cough, it's choking me. My fur is all burnt. Why does it seem fine? Little Handsome's voice faintly came from the purple Caltra python's stomach. That's all you can do with the explosive pill? Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The explosive pill was different for people of different cultivation levels. He had forgotten that little Shuai was just a foodie that only thought about drumsticks all day long. He didn't know what cultivation level it had. Little Shuai had never fought with anyone before. Everything was settled by Muyu. Wait, it couldn't be that it had no cultivation level at all, right? Then the explosive pill would be completely ineffective. Where's the snake gallbladder? Have you eaten the gallbladder yet? Muyu shouted. He lamented that he had wasted a level 7 explosive pill. That was a good item refined by the old man guarding the pavilion. Not yet. I'm in its stomach. Its stomach is so thick. I'm cutting it open. Little Handsome's confused voice came. Damn, he couldn't count on this guy anymore. The purple Caltra python was both shocked and angry. It clearly didn't expect that the little guy it had swallowed was still alive and causing trouble in its stomach. It wriggled its body angrily, but it couldn't do anything to Little Handsome. It could only hiss nonstop. Then it turned its anger back to Muyu. With a swing of its tail, it rushed toward Muyu. Hey, didn't we agree that I wouldn't move if the enemy didn't move? I didn't move, so why are you moving? Muyu turned and flew up. The shadow clone sword in his hand produced a 10-foot-long sword shadow. It swept out wildly, blocking the purple Caltra python's attack. The purple Caltra python's tail straightened on the ground. Its entire body shot toward Muyu like an arrow. But midway, the snake's body suddenly bent. It hissed in pain and fell heavily to the ground. It crashed into a pile of weeds and rolled around. What a big snake gallbladder! I don't know if it tastes good. Let me have a taste. Wait, you can't bite the gallbladder directly. Muyu shouted, but it was too late. Whoa, so bitter, so bitter. I need to rinse my mouth, water, ugh. Little Handsome's retching voice came from within the purple Caltra python's stomach. Muyu was amused. Little Handsome couldn't have bitten the gallbladder directly, right? Didn't it know that gallbladders couldn't be eaten directly? It ate so much for nothing. It didn't even look at what could be eaten directly and what couldn't be eaten directly. Who told you to bite the gallbladder? Hurry up and cut it out. Although it's very nutritious, it doesn't taste good. Muyu was convulsing with laughter. The purple Caltra python was rolling on the ground in pain, and the surrounding vegetation was in a mess. It never would have thought that there was something called Little Handsome in this world that it couldn't casually swallow. Its stomach juice could digest any prey, but it couldn't digest Little Handsome. I'm never eating snakes again. It's disgusting. Ugh. Inside the purple Caltra python's stomach, Little Handsome was already vomiting. It seemed to have removed the snake's gallbladder, but the purple Caltra python didn't die because of that. It just spat out its tongue angrily, but soon, a look of panic flashed in its eyes. Haha, I found this fellow's demon spirit. A demon spirit is much more nutritious than a snake gallbladder. I definitely have to try this. The purple Caltra python's body suddenly straightened. Its eyes were wide open. It wanted to do something, but it couldn't do anything about Little Handsome. It unwillingly flopped around a few times and stopped moving. It could live without a gallbladder, but a demon spirit was the essence and cultivation of a demon beast. Without a demon spirit, no matter how tenacious its life force was, it couldn't survive. Muyu patted his clothes and put away the shadow clone sword. He walked over to check on the purple Caltra python that had chased him to death. It was just its bad luck to have encountered such a thick-skinned little handsome. He kicked the snake's body and said, "Come out. The purple caltrop python is already dead. Are you going to wait for it to give birth to you?" Little Handsome mumbled a few words. Muyu couldn't hear what it was saying. Its mouth seemed to be stuffed with something. After a while, a small gap opened in the purple caltrop python's mouth, and Little Handsome struggled to crawl out. Its mouth was bulging. The purple caltrop python's demon spirit was probably very big. Little Handsome's body was charred black and covered in disgusting things. It wanted to jump onto Muyu but was slapped away by Muyu. "Go wash up. That gastric juice will burn me." Muyu's face was filled with disgust. His skin wasn't as thick as Little Handsome's. Little Handsome grumbled a few words and wandered around a few times. Finally, it found a relatively clean pond and washed the filth off its body. "How do we deal with this purple caltrop python?" Little Handsome rubbed its stomach and asked with satisfaction. The skin of a purple caltrop python is a high-quality alchemy material. Look at how big this one is. It's definitely more precious than a third-layer one. Come, let's deal with it, Muyu said as he took out the shadow clone sword and began cutting. Although the purple caltrop python's scales were covered in sword shadows, the skin below the scales was very easy to cut. It took Muyu an hour to deal with this huge snake. Demon spirits are really delicious. Let's go. We'll go find a few more to fill our stomachs. Little Handsome licked its lip. I feel that we'll be the nightmare of those demon beasts in the second layer of sky. It's best if they don't provoke us. First, I want you to eat their demon spirits. Muyu realized that bringing along a glutton like Little Handsome was a good choice. At a critical moment, it could be used as bait to defeat the demon beasts from the inside out. It was perfect. Chapter 215. Wah, did this guy eat shit in the morning? Why is his stomach so disgusting? It's a three-tailed demonic dog. Of course a dog eats shit. Damn it, bad luck. Ah, I touched the demon spirit. Give me the demon spirit. Don't eat it. Very harmonious shouts rang out from the swamp. One man and one beast, working together to make money, division of labor clear. Muyu specifically attracted the attention of the demonic beasts, then threw Little Handsome to the demonic beasts as a meal for Little Handsome to take care of. They have been in the swamp for 2 days and have met no less than 10 rank 4 demonic beasts. 8 of them were taken care of by Little Handsome as bait, while the rest were taken care of by Muyu with his own strength. One man and one beast were invincible in the swamp, using the most unexpected method to kill the demonic beasts. Those demonic beasts would never have thought that their death would come from the inside out. They can accept being torn apart by other powerful enemies, but dying in such a way is a disgrace. Little Handsome's ability to steal demon spirits from other demonic beasts' stomachs is unheard of. No matter how strong the demonic beast is, once its demon spirit is taken by Little Handsome, it will be finished. Hurry up, I vaguely felt the aura of a rank 5 demonic beast. If we meet it, we won't even be able to run. Muyu anxiously shouted. A rank 5 demonic beast has the cultivation of an out-of-body stage. It's best not to provoke it. The earthy yellow 3-tailed demonic dog's huge body fell to the ground. Its eyes were filled with anger as it unwillingly breathed its last breath. Little Handsome fumbled its way out of its mouth, then threw the demon spirit to Muyu. I told you to give me the demon spirit, why did you eat it? Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the bite mark on the demon spirit. Little Handsome actually secretly took a bite. It accidentally touched my mouth. Little Handsome's body was wet and covered with messy things, but he still didn't forget to explain. Forget it, forget it. I really have to hand it to you. Muyu had long ago used a tree to carve out a basin filled with clean water for Xiao Shui to wash his body. Little Shui's entire body stank. Fortunately, its control of spiritual energy was very precise and it could easily get rid of the smell on its body. Muyu had already obtained 4 demon spirit. The remaining ones were all in Xiao Shuai's stomach. These demon spirits didn't matter to Muyu. His cultivation talent was already very high, so he didn't need these things from the outside world to improve himself. However, just because he couldn't use it didn't mean that others couldn't use it. For example, he could give it to Elder Kumu. He was currently cultivating from the beginning. With the help of the demon spirit, his cultivation would recover faster. After exploring for a while, they finally got out of the swamp and stepped onto solid ground. In front of him was a vast and boundless grassland. A large river spanned the entire grassland and flowed eastward. Occasionally, some trees could be seen in the grassland. These trees were very tall and had luxuriant foliage. They were full of vitality and were much larger than the trees Muyu had seen before. Because there were no humans in this world, only demonic beasts, the landscape was very primitive. Traces of battles between demonic beasts could be seen everywhere. Some demonic beasts were flying above the grassland, chasing each other. There were even some herbivorous demonic beasts slowly moving about. Some were quietly drinking water by the river. Muyu took out the map and glanced at it. At the bottom corner of the map, there was an indication of the sea. Beside the sea, there was a circle representing the swamp. Outside the swamp, there was indeed a grassland with a large river. According to the map, the 9-chi soul cleansing flower was on a mountain in the east. It was still a long distance away from here. Muyu estimated that it would take them 2 to 3 days to reach there. Kumu said that the mountain was very special and could be seen with a single glance. When he was young, he had picked the 9-chi soul cleansing flower there. That mountain was called the 6-finger mountain. As for the netherworld grass, it was in the snow valley in the northwest direction. There were many demonic beasts there. They were all high-rank demonic beasts with thick skin and flesh that could withstand the cold. Kumu had never seen the netherworld grass before. He had only heard about it from Taoist Yundan. Taoist Yundan had been there before, but he didn't dare to approach because of the powerful demonic beast. He only saw the netherworld grass from afar, surrounded by many demonic beasts. Even Taoist Yundan didn't dare to get too close. Muyu actually didn't have much confidence in his heart. However, the arrow was already knocked on the bow. Even if it was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, he had to give it a try. Kumu asked Taoist Yundan to help draw a rough outline of the snow valley for Muyu to refer to. With this reference, it might be of some help. The sun shone on his body, making him feel warm. Muyu stretched his body comfortably. The fog in the swamp didn't dissipate all year round. If he stayed for too long, he felt that he would get rheumatism. Although he had only stayed in the swamp for 2 days, he felt as if he had stayed there for 2 years. The swamp was very stifling. Demonic beasts are coming. Muyu once again discovered 2 gloomy auras. He really didn't want to fight with demonic beasts anymore. Not only was it a waste of time, it was also very tiring. In his perception, there was a trace of abnormality in the surrounding plant. He immediately took out the root grass and dove into the ground. He planned to avoid these 2 demonic beasts first. 2 gloomy cold auras appeared in the swamp. Following that, 2 shadows rushed out of the swamp. Muyu thought that they were 2 demonic beasts. However, he was surprised to find that they were actually 2 people from the gate of hell. They had actually been teleported into the swamp as well. These 2 people's bodies flickered with a steaming black aura. Wherever they went, a layer of frost would form on the plant. They landed at the place where Muyu was just standing. The surrounding bushes immediately withered, as if their vitality had been sucked away. The ghost aura dissipated, revealing their true appearances. They were a man and a woman. The man's face was pale without a trace of blood. However, his eyes were incomparably sharp. He looked very young. The woman looked very cold. Her eyes were as black as ink. There was no white in her eyes. She looked very frightening. One of the characteristics of the people from the gate of hell was that everyone's skin color looked like someone who had been dead for a long time. It was frighteningly white. "Senior Brother Xianyue, where do we go next?" the woman from the ghost gate asked. Her voice did not have a trace of human emotion. It was as if she was a walking corpse. It was very stiff and made people feel uncomfortable listening to her. "Senior Brother Xianyue? Gui Xianyue?" When Muyu heard this, he was slightly shocked. Gui Xuanyue's physical body had been destroyed by Feng Haochen in the Moyun mountain range. His twin had also been killed by Muyu. Although Muyu had ignored Gui Xuanyue's soul and allowed him to escape, this man in front of him didn't look like Gui Xianyue. "First, we have to find a few demonic souls. If we had been able to get the Ghost Venerable to go to the Ghost Island back then, we wouldn't have to go through so much trouble now. Unfortunately, Jian Ying and Chen Feng in the Moyun mountain range are indeed true gods. They are indeed not people we can target." From this guy's tone, he really was Gui Xianyue. Now that he had appeared with a different appearance, could it be that he had found a new physical body? Then where could he find his twin? The most powerful thing about the people from the gate of hell was that they had twins working together. Without twins, their strength would be greatly reduced. Could it be that Gui Xianyue had found another twin? If we are looking for demonic souls, we need to use the soul extraction array to find the whereabouts of the demons. However, the demons are quite powerful. It will be difficult to kill them and collect their demonic souls. The demons must have found a way to enter the second firmament. As long as we follow them, we should be able to find the White Ape Demon King, said the woman from the gate of hell. Let's find the others first. Fortunately, we are not far away from each other. These second firmament demonic beasts are very powerful. We need to find a relatively remote place to use the soul extraction array. We cannot be disturbed by them. Also, the 9 arrays for the Ghost Lord's possession have been prepared. We have to capture the White Ape Demon King alive, Gui Xianyue said in a low voice. He looked around and did not find anything unusual. He then rose into the air again and continued on his journey with the woman from the gate of hell. After a long time, Muyu came out. The place he was hiding in was covered in a layer of white frost. The 9 arrays for possession? Muyu pondered for a long time. He remembered that when he went to the plague village with Deadwood to save people, they met the people from the gate of hell. They were said to be collecting pure mortal souls for Gui Jiuming's possession. Did that mean that the ghost lord that Gui Xianyue mentioned was Gui Jiuming? Then what's the matter with the White Ape Demon King? How did they know that the White Ape Demon King was in the second firmament? Muyu looked at the 2 people from the gate of hell in the distance and fell into deep thought. There were originally 3 races in the third firmament: the humans, the human, and the demons. The demons had disappeared long before the human. They had disappeared for thousands of years. How could there be news of them now? Only the disciples of the 13 sects had entered the second firmament. How did the demons enter the second firmament? Could it be that the demons had found another way to enter the second firmament? When Muyu interrogated the disciple from the gate of hell, he died before he could say the whereabouts of the White Ape Demon King. Now it seemed that the White Ape Demon King was sealed in the second firmament? Many complicated questions hovered in Muyu's mind, making him feel puzzled. He could not understand the stakes. The White Ape Demon King was one of the 10 great demon kings. The demons would certainly not let him be captured alive by the people from the gate of hell. But if it was a demon king, how could the nascent soul stage cultivators from the gate of hell be sure to capture the demon king? A demon king was an extremely powerful existence. No matter how powerful Gui Xianyue was, he could not be a match for a demon king. Yuman escaping from the Moyun Mountains and returning to the third firmament was already bad enough. Now it seemed that the demons, who had been silent for a long time, were beginning to stir. It seemed that the peaceful lives that Jian Ying and Chen Feng sacrificed themselves for the humans of the third firmament could no longer be maintained. Should we follow them? Xiao Shui scratched his head and asked. Should they go? Whether it was Yuman or the demons, these matters were very troublesome. The people from the Gate of Hell were one of the 8 gates. If Mu Yu had not discovered their despicable actions, he might have thought that the Gate of Hell was trying to stop the revival of the demons. But with the despicable nature of the Gate of Hell, this was impossible. They treated human lives like grass. Why would they stop the demons for the sake of humans? Forget it, let's not go. This matter has nothing to do with us. Let's find the 9 Qi soul cleansing flower and the netherworld herb first. This matter is much more important than following them. The people from the Gate of Hell had secretly collected the souls of thousands of mortals. No matter what they were going to do next, to Mu Yu, it was not as important as finding the 9 Qi soul cleansing flower and the netherworld herb. His master was once able to stop 5 spirit lords Yumeng. As long as he could recover his cultivation, it would not be difficult for him to stop Yumeng and the demons. But Gui Xuanyue's cultivation has improved a lot. Mu Yu looked at Gui Xuanyue's back. Although he had stepped into the nascent soul stage, Gui Xuanyue's strength was still above his. However, if Mu Yu had the chance, he would definitely fight Gui Xuanyue personally. Last time at the Moyan Mountains, he only had the strength of the Jindan period. Against Gui Xuanyue, who was in the nascent soul stage, he had no chance of fighting back. Now that he had stepped into the nascent soul stage, it was time to settle the score. Gui Xuanyue had wanted to kill Mu Yu's master. Just this alone was not something that Mu Yu could tolerate. Chapter 216. The second layer is the world of demon beasts. Therefore, even after Mu Yu left the swamp, he could still see demon beasts with monstrous strength. Fortunately, many rank 5 and rank 6 demon beasts don't gather in group. High-rank demon beasts have a special sense of territory. They allow weaker demon beasts to intrude into their territory. After all, they also need prey. However, once they encounter a demon beast that can threaten their position, they will show their true strength. Mu Yu had already intruded into the territory of many high-rank demon beasts. However, because his existence didn't pose a threat to them and they didn't treat him as prey, he didn't encounter any danger along the way. If he encountered a rank 4 demon beast, he could just let Little Shui deal with it. Mu Yu now gave Little Shui a nickname, Demon Beast Terminator. He originally wanted to see if he could throw Little Shui to a rank 5 demon beast as a snack. It would be even better if he could get a rank 5 demon beast's demon spirit. However, after thinking about it, a rank 5 demon beast is too powerful. Last time, Mu Yu was given a headache by a rank 4 purple caltrop python. If he was targeted by a rank 5 demon beast, he was destined to be finished. Did I go the wrong way? Shouldn't there be a river here? Mu Yu sat on the flying sword and scratched his head, puzzled. He compared it to Deadwood's map. On Deadwood's map, after crossing this mountain, there should be a wide river emitting black gas. However, in front of him, there was only a vast plain made of stones. There wasn't even a drop of water. That old man came in a long time ago. There are so many powerful demonic beasts here. Who knows, maybe one of the high-tier demonic beasts likes rocks and filled up the Black River with rock. Little Shui was holding onto a piece of rank 4 demonic beast's demon spirit, munching on it with relish. Then he must be bored. Mu Yu gestured the position of the sun in the sky. After confirming that the direction was correct, he continued to fly towards the stone plain. The more he flew, the more he felt that something was wrong. He looked around and saw that there were only scattered stones. He didn't see anything else, whether it was plants or creatures. Even the demon beasts that were running around earlier were all gone. Why was it so strange? It was as if they had entered a world made of stone. The ground was filled with strangely shaped stones. Occasionally they would see one or two mountains. However, the mountains that were thousands of meters tall did not even have a single plant. There was only pure soil and stone, which was extremely abrupt. Muyu began to feel suspicious. He had a bad premonition. This kind of situation made him feel very uncomfortable. It was as if he had come to a familiar yet strange place. He couldn't tell where this feeling came from, but this strange feeling lingered in his mind. The surroundings were very quiet. Only the sound of Muyu flying on his sword and the sound of Little Handsome munching on Ken's demon spirit could be heard. But at this moment, with a whoosh, an abrupt sound suddenly sounded from below. Muyu tilted his head, and a fist-sized rock brushed past his ear. The sharp sound of friction caused his eardrums to hurt. His body became sluggish, and he stopped. He wanted to know what was going on with this stone that appeared out of nowhere. Was there someone around? Who is it? Muyu looked around vigilantly. However, no one responded to him. The surroundings were still deathly silent. It was as if that stone had accidentally flown up by itself. Of course, this was impossible. Stones wouldn't move by themselves. To be able to accurately hit a nascent soul stage cultivator's head with such great force, Muyu wouldn't believe that it was an accident. Whoosh whoosh! Another sharp sound of something breaking through the air. Muyu's body was forcefully pulled to the side. Two stones brushed past his shoulder. Before Muyu had the time to turn around, he saw a horrifying scene. The stones on the ground suddenly floated up one by one and hung in the air. Just as Muyu was stunned, several hundred stones uniformly rushed towards Muyu. Hearing the sound of friction between them and the air, Muyu concluded that as long as he was hit by one of them, he would definitely get pregnant. "What the hell is this?" Muyu shouted. Controlling the surrounding spiritual energy, his entire body flew upwards like an arrow. The stones collided with each other at his original position. Some of the stones were even shattered. However, this wasn't the end. Those stones that collided with each other didn't fall back to the ground like Muyu imagined. Instead, they paused for a moment and continued to fly towards Muyu. These stones seemed to have a consciousness. They relentlessly chased after Muyu. No matter how Muyu dodged, the stones would always continue to smash towards him. Moreover, Muyu found that it was becoming more and more difficult for him to dodge. More and more stones on the ground floated up. If he wasn't careful and was hit, he would definitely be buried by these stones. Rip! A corner of his clothes had already been scraped. With his speed, he couldn't do anything about these stones. He raised the Shadow Clone sword and began to block the attacks of these stones. However, if this continued, it was obvious that he would only be passively beaten. Muyu clasped his hands together and gathered the surrounding spiritual energy to form a spiritual energy barrier around him. When the stones smashed onto the barrier, waves of heart-palpitating ripples appeared. Fortunately, the barrier could withstand the impact of the stones and was able to bounce them away. However, before Muyu could breathe a sigh of relief, he found that the stones didn't rush over anymore. Instead, they lightly stuck to his barrier. The stones seemed to have a mind of their own as they seamlessly linked together and began to gradually surround Muyu's barrier. What the hell? Muyu took advantage of the gap before he was wrapped up by the stones to rush out of the encirclement. The Shadow Clone's sword rotated in front of his chest. A green light exploded with the Shadow Clone sword as the center. The sharp sword chi instantly shattered the stones that followed him. However, more and more stones jumped up from the ground. There was nothing around him that could be used as a shield. If this continued, he would be smashed down by the stones sooner or later. Ha! At this moment, Muyu suddenly heard a delicate shout. He followed the voice and saw a blue-clothed girl not far from him. She was also dealing with a large pile of stones. I finally found someone. Truly not simple. The people that could be seen here were usually disciples of some sect from the third heaven like him. Although Mu Yu didn't know this girl, he was still very happy that there was a living person in this silent stone world. The girl looked to be about the same age as Mu Yu. He didn't know which sect she came from. Her body was surrounded by a blue halo that seemed to be some kind of powerful magic artifact. Wherever the halo moved, the stones would be shattered. Mu Yu repelled the stones as he approached the girl. The girl also noticed Mu Yu and hesitated for a moment before flying over. "Hey, miss, do you know what is going on with these stones?" Mu Yu asked as his shadow-clone sword sliced through a row of stones. "You don't know?" The blue-clothed girl frowned. Mu Yu saw clearly what the blue halo around her body was. It was a delicate and smooth ribbon made of unknown material. "Should I know?" Mu Yu asked puzzledly. The blue-clothed girl glanced at Mu Yu suspiciously and then said, "Are you from the third heaven?" "Yes. My name is Mu Yu and I am from the Danding sect." "May I know your name?" "Which sect are you from?" Mu Yu happily introduced himself. At the same time, he muttered in his heart, if he wasn't from the third heaven, could he be a native of the second heaven? "Let's deal with these Yumeng first." The blue-clothed girl's words made Mu Yu startled. How could these stones be Yumeng? Mu Yu didn't have time to ask more questions when a sudden change occurred. The stones in the air seemed to be summoned by something and began to quickly fly in all directions. They gradually gathered on the ground, and after a while, the stones pieced together into a humanoid shape. They had become a living stone man. These stone men had blurry facial features, especially their eyes, which were formed by two glowing purple gems. Just looking at them would make one panic. What is this? Stone demons? Do they have demon spirits? Little Shuai shouted excitedly. He quickly stuffed the rest of the demon spirits into his mouth. Then, he jumped onto Mu Yu's head, ready to go all out. "This is Yumeng. Yuman. You don't know that it's not a stone?" The blue-clothed girl frowned. The stones around her no longer attacked them, but she didn't dare to be careless. The blue ribbon still surrounded her. Yumeng? Yumeng doesn't have a demon spirit, right?" Little Shuai wagged his tail and quickly returned to Mu Yu's embrace. Of course, Mu Yu knew about Yumeng. Not to mention his relationship with Tu Yuman, he had also seen Tu Yuman in Lan Shi City. Strictly speaking, he hadn't seen Yumeng's true face. However, it was true that Tu Yuman had attacked him in Lan Shi City. These Yumeng were all made of stone. They seemed to be different from the earthy yellow color that village chief grandpa had mentioned. "This is Tu Yuman's territory. There are too many stones here. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave this place quickly," the blue-clothed girl said. As soon as she finished speaking, the Yumeng suddenly stomped their feet on the ground. Their heavy bodies were like huge sandbags as they charged towards the two of them. Mu Yu could clearly hear the sound of their huge fists whistling through the air. If she was hit by one of those fists, she would probably vomit blood. Mu Yu didn't dare to take it head-on. His figure nimbly dodging the wind-like fist. His feet tapped on one of the Yumeng's arms, pulling apart the distance between them. However, the other Yumeng closed in and let out a muffled roar, smashing towards Mu Yu's head. "Be careful!" The blue-clothed girl's blue ribbon suddenly wrapped around the waist of the Yumeng that had attacked Mu Yu. With a tug of her slender arms, the Tu Yuman's heavy body was actually lifted up and thrown out, smashing into the other Yumeng. The two Yumeng fell heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Mu Yu didn't even have time to thank her. His shadow-clone sword had already left his hand. It pierced through the blue-clothed girl's hair, and pierced the right eye of the other Yumeng. That Yumeng's fist that was about to hit the blue-clothed girl's waist suddenly stopped. It let out a muffled cry of pain and tried to grab the shadow-clone sword with both hands. Mu Yu had already pulled out the shadow-clone sword. The purple glowing stone had already shattered. The blue-clothed girl took the opportunity to kick the Yumeng's chest, sending it flying. "No need to thank me. No need to thank me, the two of them said at the same time. Then, they looked at each other. Only Mu Yu smiled foolishly, while the girl snorted disdainfully. She looked very arrogant. Mu Yu was speechless. He rubbed his nose, thinking that this girl was really arrogant. He was just greeting her. Why did she have to be so arrogant? But then again, this girl's strength wasn't small. Even the heavy body of the Yu Meng was sent flying by her. She was a real tomboy. Chapter 217. The blue-clothed girl flew in front for about 4 hours, and Mu Yu followed closely behind. From time to time, some Tuyuming would get up from the ground and attack them, but they managed to avoid them. Now was not the time to fight, especially in this endless stone plain. Who knew how many Tuyuming were waiting for them? This way. The blue-clothed girl suddenly turned and ran in another direction. She seemed to know the direction and would always adjust her direction at the right time. Fortunately, he was following this girl. Otherwise, with Mu Yu's poor sense of direction, he might have flown into the nest of the Tuyuming. After a while, a huge cliff appeared in front of them, and the stones that filled the sky had disappeared. This place was like the boundary of the world. Looking down from the cliff, all they could see was a misty forest, and they could not see the end of it. Mu Yu looked back and saw that the Tuyuming were running on the stone ground, and their speed was not slower than theirs. The Tuyuming's jumping ability was also amazing. No matter how high they flew, these Tuyuming would always be able to reach their height. Moreover, there was a strange pulling force coming from below. Once they flew too high, it would be difficult for them to fly. Wait! The blue-clothed girl suddenly stopped at the edge of the cliff. Why did you stop? They are about to catch up. Mu Yu saw that the blue-clothed girl had suddenly stopped at the edge of the cliff, and he quickly stepped on his flying sword to stop. However, he still flew a little bit out of the cliff due to inertia. Hey! Don't step out! The blue-clothed girl shouted, but it was too late. As soon as Mu Yu stepped over the cliff, a huge pulling force suddenly came from his body. It was as if his body was tied up by a heavy mountain. His entire body fell down the cliff uncontrollably, and he did not have any room to struggle. Damn! What the hell? Mu Yu tried to mobilize all the spiritual power in his body, wanting to fight against this strange force. However, this strange force was too strange. All the spiritual power in his body was severely suppressed, and he did not have any strength to resist. Damn it, my fear of heights is acting up again. This scene was similar to when Mu Yu fell from the edge of a cliff when he was very young. It was also at that time that he developed a fear of heights. Now, under Enshu's training, he gradually overcame his fear of heights. However, this strange force caused him to fall off the cliff again, and the same scene evoked the fear in his heart. So troublesome! The blue-clothed girl's voice came from above. Just as Mu Yu was thinking about how to find a way to safely land, he looked up from the corner of his eye and found that the blue-clothed girl muttered, and then jumped down from the cliff. What kind of scene was this? The blue-clothed woman spread out her arms and stepped on the silk ribbon. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, leaving behind an afterimage. The wind brushed past her temples and strands of fine black hair fluttered in the wind. She was like a celestial maiden that had descended to the mortal world. She was so graceful that Mu Yu was a little stunned. It's a pity that you're not wearing a dress. Little Handsome drooled as he stared at Xiao Shui. Little Handsome, you little pervert. Mu Yu looked at the blue-clothed girl's falling figure, and for a moment, she forgot that she was still falling quickly. Don't pretend to be virtuous. Don't you also want her to wear a dress? Little Handsome wiped his drool, and also wiped Mu Yu's drool. I didn't. Mu Yu didn't look at Little Handsome at all. His eyes didn't leave the blue-clothed girl for a moment. The blue-clothed girl's falling speed was not slower than Mu Yu's. She quickly descended to Mu Yu's side. The silk ribbon under her feet extended and wrapped around Mu Yu's heel. Then, the other end of the ribbon wrapped around a protruding rock on the cliff. With a huge recoil, the two finally stopped. Mu Yu was hanging upside down and couldn't gather spiritual power. He was just like an ordinary person. At the same time, he found that his thigh seemed to have been pulled and dislocated. A tearing pain swept over him. With such pain, he no longer had the time to look at the beautiful girl. "Grab the rock yourself," the blue-clothed girl shouted. Mu Yu reacted. Ignoring the pain in his thigh, he supported himself with both hands on the rock wall. Then, he groped for a suitable position and firmly hugged the rock. Can you let go of my leg?" Mu Yu felt that it was really embarrassing to make a fool of himself in front of a girl. He tried to pretend as if nothing had happened. He wanted to show that he didn't need help. "I just heard a creaking sound. Your leg seems to have been dislocated." The blue-clothed girl shrugged and loosened the blue ribbon. This loosening of the ribbon didn't matter. The weight of the whole body was added to his arm. He wanted to kick his leg on the rock wall, but his right leg didn't have any strength. His whole body slipped and his leg turned down. Then, his heel hit the rock wall. Another sharp pain came. Mu Yu gritted his teeth in pain. Damn. Just now, he wanted to pretend to be a man in front of the girl. Now it was all ruined. "Why can't we fly here?" Mu Yu slowed down and endured the pain in his thigh. He forced himself to ask. "The Tuyuming's gravity domain. They are the kings of the earth. They are extremely skilled in controlling gravity. Fortunately, these are just the weaker Tuyuming. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to escape so easily." The blue-clothed girl seemed to know everything. Not only did she know the direction, but she also knew the abilities of the Tuyuming. "Miss, you know a lot." Mu Yu really didn't know what was so powerful about the Tuyuming. He always thought that the Tuyuming only knew how to control rock. He didn't know that they could also control gravity. Mu Yu tried his best to straighten his posture. He tried his best to save some of his image in front of the girl. However, he still looked very embarrassed. The blue-clothed girl used the blue ribbon to stabilize her body. She looked very casual. "You don't know anything and you're running to the second layer of heaven. You're really not afraid of death." The blue-clothed girl snorted. "They did tell me that the Yuman could infiltrate the second layer of heaven. However, I didn't think I would encounter them. How could I be so unlucky?" Mu Yu muttered. He then asked, "May I know your name?" "Xiao Shui." Xiao Shui gave a short answer. It seemed that she didn't want to talk to Mu Yu. "Miss Xiao Shui is so familiar with this place. If I didn't know that there was no one here, I would have suspected that you are a native of the second layer of heaven. Let me introduce myself again. I am Mu Yu from the Danding sect." Mu Yu chuckled. "I am from the Red Dust sect." Xiao Shui looked at Mu Yu condescendingly. "Is that so? Then you must know Tianran. As expected of the 8 sects, you know this place like the back of your hand," Mu Yu said. When Xiao Shui heard Mu Yu say that he knew Tianran, her expression changed. However, she quickly covered it up and snorted noncommittally. "What is below? What will happen if we fall?" Mu Yu looked at the bottomless cliff and felt a lingering fear. "I don't know what is below. Even if we don't die, we will probably lose half of our life." Xiao Shui curled her lips. She sized up Mu Yu and said, "You don't look like you are from the Danding sect. I know that the Danding sect is full of sickly weaklings. They don't have skills like yours." "I am special." Mu Yu raised his eyebrows. He was too lazy to explain anything. The most important thing for him right now was to reattach his broken leg. However, in his current position, there was no chance for him to heal it. "Little Handsome, help me if you are not dead," Mu Yu called out. Little Handsome had been sleeping comfortably in Mu Yu's clothes. Just a moment ago, he was drooling while looking at the beauty. Now, he was sleeping soundly. "Are we out of danger?" Little Handsome poked his head out and looked at Xiao Shui. He scratched his head and asked, "Did you chase those stone monsters away?" "We were chased away. My right leg is broken. Hurry and help me." Mu Yu ignored Xiao Shui's strange gaze and rubbed his chin on Little Handsome's head. When Xiao Shui saw Xiao Shui, he even combed his hair and stood on Mu Yu's shoulder. He bowed and said, "Dear miss, my name is Xiao Shui. Xiao Shui means Xiao Shui, and Xiao Shui means Xiao Shui. Please take care of me. Take care of your sister. Hurry and reattach my leg. Otherwise, we will all die if we fall." Mu Yu cursed. "Miss, we don't need to pay attention to this bore. Miss, you have a familiar smell on your body. Did you bring something delicious? Seeing that Miss is so delicate and refined, I wonder what is Miss's surname. If you talk nonsense again, I won't give you the drumstick." Mu Yu was simply angered by this fellow. He even talked about food when he hit on her. When Little Handsome heard about food, he immediately crawled down Mu Yu's body to take care of his injured leg. Between the beauty and the drumstick, Little Handsome chose the drumstick. "It's just an ordinary fracture. It's not a problem. You are a cultivator after all. Isn't it too embarrassing to have a fracture? I will reattach it for you immediately." Little Handsome muttered as he floated in the air. Then, he grabbed Mu Yu's right leg with his claws and pulled it up with all his strength. Following an unpleasant sound and a painful groan from Mu Yu, Little Handsome clapped his hands and flew back to Mu Yu's shoulder. "Can't you be gentler? Don't you know that it hurts to use so much strength? Wait a minute. How can you fly?" Mu Yu opened his eyes wide. There was an array formation here, and it was impossible to fly. However, Little Handsome acted as if nothing had happened and was not affected at all. "What? You can't fly? I was wondering why the two of you were in such a strange position. So you can't fly. Why can't you fly here? Hey, why are the two of you looking at me like that?" The following matters were much easier. Honestly speaking, sometimes bringing Little Shui along was quite useful. For example, he could heal your injuries, and when encountering demonic beasts, he could even act as bait and so on. Other than that, he could also help you fly. Little Handsome could only protest helplessly. In the end, Mu Yu used the roasted chicken as bait. Mu Yu grabbed Little Handsome's tail. As Little Handsome cried out, he actually carried Mu Yu up. Moreover, he did not seem to be using any effort at all. "Beauty, do you want a ride? It's free." Mu Yu stretched out his hand and said to Xiao Shui. Xiao Shui looked at Little Handsome suspiciously. Little Handsome had been struggling in the air. Clearly, she didn't believe that Little Handsome's small body could carry two people. She hesitated for a moment, but since she didn't have a better idea, she simply nodded. Chapter 218. Mu Yu complained in his heart. His waist was so tight that he couldn't breathe, but he couldn't lose his poise in front of a girl. He could only grimace in pain as Xiao Shui grumbled. This cliff was very deep. He really didn't know how two youngmen managed to stack the rocks so high. They descended for almost 2 hours before they could barely see the true appearance of the bottom. There were lush bushes everywhere, and they could faintly see bumpy ponds. After another hour, they finally landed on a rock, trembling. There were all kinds of unknown plants around them. Some of them were even blooming, but there was something missing. After a while, Mu Yu noticed what was missing. There were no bees, butterflies, or any other insects. He couldn't even hear the chirping of birds. It was eerily quiet. There was no wind blowing, and the plants didn't move. There was only the sound of their own breathing. "This place is a little strange." Mu Yu touched the plants beside him. They seemed to be repelling Mu Yu. Mu Yu didn't feel any familiarity from these plants. He wanted to fuse with them, but he was still a little repulsed. Xiao Shui looked around and frowned. However, she didn't show any abnormalities. She was just thinking about something. Mu Yu originally wanted to find a topic to talk to Xiao Shui, but seeing her indifferent look, he felt that it was better not to ask for a rebuff. The two of them rested on the rock for a long time. They needed time to recover their strength. The sky gradually darkened, and a bright moon appeared in the sky. The bright moonlight sprinkled down on this desolate land, and the quiet swamp did not have a trace of the cold moonlight. Instead, a misty barrier floated in from somewhere, and gradually enveloped them. There was a feeling that arose in the hearts of the two. This fog is poisonous. Mu Yu just breathed in a bit of the fog and immediately became alert. He circulated his spirit qi to expel the fog from his body. To Mu Yu, the poisonous gas couldn't hurt him at all. He just wanted to remind Xiao Shui. Xiao Shui wasn't affected by the fog either. Presumably, she also had a protective treasure on her. Her body was emitting a faint blue light. It was the blue silk belt on her waist that was protecting her. Xiao Shui glanced at Mu Yu and reminded, "From now on, you have to be vigilant. Powerful second-layer demonic beasts usually come out at night." Mu Yu didn't know how Xiao Shui knew about this. In fact, there was no need for Xiao Shui to remind him. Rustling sounds could be heard in the originally silent swamp, as if something was crawling quickly on the wetland. It was only a sound, but it couldn't be seen. "Ow woo!" A proud and aloof cry sounded not far away. The two of them turned to look at the source of the sound. A tall pine tree stood out from the rest not far away, appearing very lofty under the cold moonlight. The winding and rugged branches gave off a sense of vicissitudes, as if they had experienced many years of wind and rain, but they still did not fall. From the tip of the pine tree, there was a gray snake-shaped demonic beast hissing towards the sky. What shocked them was that this demonic beast had a snake-like body, but its entire head was a genuine wolf's head. Its pair of scarlet wolf eyes looked particularly demonic under the reflection of the moonlight. "How can a wild wolf appear in this place?" Xiao Shui said in a soft voice. Her eyes didn't leave that strange demonic beast. That demonic beast hissed towards the moonlight from the tip of the pine tree. It seemed to be transmitting some kind of signal. "Wild wolf? You know this kind of demonic beast?" Mu Yu hadn't seen this kind of demonic beast when he was in the third layer of celestial layer, nor had he heard of this kind of demonic beast. There were also many books that didn't record this kind of demonic beast. He didn't know how Xiao Shui knew about it. Xiao Shui didn't respond to Mu Yu's words. Her gaze swept across the sky, as if she was looking for something. After a while, Mu Yu finally knew what she was looking for. Under the moonlight, a huge yellow bird flapped its wings from afar and swooped down towards the wild wolf. The wild wolf's natural enemy is the drifting hawk. This wild wolf's hissing is a provocation towards the drifting hawk. The wild wolf will kill a drifting hawk when it is in heat to seek a mate. The meat of the drifting hawk is very delicious in the wild wolf's eyes. Xiao Shui looked at Mu Yu's puzzled expression and casually explained. "The wild wolf can kill that big bird flying in the sky?" Needless to say, Mu Yu had never heard of the drifting hawk. The drifting hawk's claws reflected a cold and sharp light under the moonlight. These claws were incomparably sharp. Coupled with the advantage of being able to fly, how could the wild wolf beat the big bird? This pair of natural enemies have the same probability of killing each other because the wild wolf can also fly. When Mu Yu still wanted to ask how the wild wolf's snake body could fly, he saw the wild wolf's nimble body already shoot towards the drifting hawk like an arrow leaving the bow. The drifting hawk issued an angry clear bell sound, and a red lightning bolt sped out from its mouth. The drifting hawk's abdomen suddenly unfolded a pair of thin abdominal wings, reflecting an ice-cold light under the moonlight. The abdominal wings lightly shook, and the red lightning passed through the empty space of the wild wolf's coiled snake body. At the same time, the wolf's head ferociously bit towards the drifting hawk. The drifting hawk's powerful wings slapped the wild wolf's head open. The two demon beasts fiercely collided in the air. Even though Mu Yu and the others were so far away, they could still feel the terrifying spiritual power fluctuations emitted by the two demon beasts. Mu Yu didn't have the slightest doubt that if they were to face these two beasts in their current situation, they wouldn't have any power to resist. They could only turn around and run away. These two demon beasts were actually rank 5 demon beasts. However, the surrounding rustling sounds were getting louder and louder. Mu Yu withdrew his gaze from the two demon beasts, and a bad premonition welled up in his heart. He already understood that the night was the time when the demon beasts were active. These rustling sounds came from afar, and seemed to gradually surround them. We seem to have invaded the turtle ants' territory. We have to leave here quickly. Xiao Shui took the lead and stood up. Mu Yu already didn't feel like asking her why she knew so much. He also vaguely felt that she didn't come with good intentions. Mu Yu was just about to call little Shui to be the flying coolie, when he saw Xiao Shui already standing on the blue ribbon and flying up. Mu Yu was stunned for a moment. Can we fly now? He slightly moved his body and found that the tearing feeling that had been suppressing his spiritual power had disappeared. Xiao Shui looked at Mu Yu strangely. We are already out of Tu Yuming's territory, so of course we can fly. However, those two rank 5 demon beasts aren't something that we can deal with. Be careful not to alarm them. Mu Yu didn't know anything about this. He felt that he was lucky to have met Xiao Shui. After all, Xiao Shui was much more familiar with this place than the average person. In an unfamiliar place, especially in such a dangerous place, if he didn't know the rules here, he wouldn't even know how he died. They left the resting rock when the turtle ants attacked. Before Mu Yu left, he took a look at the so-called turtle ant. These turtle ants were the size of sparrows, and their large teeth were wet. It seemed like it was their saliva. Being bitten by them would definitely be unpleasant. Your blue ribbon doesn't seem to be ordinary. Mu Yu flew over a bush. The spiritual power fluctuation on the blue ribbon was different from ordinary magic treasures. It was extremely agile, as if it was a magic treasure with life. Xiao Shui said indifferently, "It has an extraordinary origin, so it's naturally different." Seeing that the other party didn't seem to want to say anything, Mu Yu didn't ask anymore. The two of them went around the two rank 5 demon beasts fighting and headed to the fog on the left. Because it was night and the fog was extremely thick, they didn't dare to be careless. They were afraid that they would be targeted. But right at this moment, Mu Yu suddenly felt a sense of danger. He caught sight of a biting cold scarlet light shooting towards Xiao Shui from the corner of his eyes. Be careful! Mu Yu leaped and pushed Xiao Shui down. At the same time, the flying eagle's sharp claws brushed past Xiao Shui's hair. Mu Yu lost his balance with Xiao Shui, and the two of them quickly fell to the ground. Mu Yu's body turned and his back landed on the ground. Then, Xiao Shui fell on top of him. Let go! Xiao Shui's face turned red. This was the first time she had been hugged by someone of the opposite sex. She struggled out of Mu Yu's embrace and got up. Mu Yu grimaced in pain. He felt that his ribs were about to break, but he didn't have time to think about it. The flying eagle's red lightning was already rushing toward them. Xiao Shui quickly reacted. This flying eagle had probably won the battle just now, and it was actually targeting the two of them. The flying eagle's strength couldn't be underestimated, and Xiao Shui didn't underestimate it. A blue ribbon fluttered out from her waist, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a sky-blue water curtain that swept toward the flying eagle. The flying eagle let out an angry cry. Clearly, it didn't expect that these two creatures it had never seen before would be able to dodge its attack. Its diving speed was slowed down by the sky-blue water curtain. Furthermore, it didn't know what this strange water curtain was made of, but even with its sharp claws, it didn't have the slightest advantage. This made the flying eagle's pride feel greatly provoked. A strange flame shot out from its body, and the flying eagle's body suddenly became somewhat illusory. Mu Yu was shocked to see the flying eagle's body disappear into a ball of flame. However, this ball of flame became extremely domineering, and a violent aura surged out. The sky-blue water curtain couldn't even get close to this ball of flame. What are you still standing there for? The flying eagle's natal skill is this ball of flame. Its explosive speed isn't something that we can block. Hurry up and help. Xiao Shui saw Mu Yu slowly crawl up from the ground in a daze, and she was getting more and more tired. She immediately became angry. Mu Yu also wanted to go up and help, but his chest was really stuffy. Anyone who suffered such a blow would be unable to breathe. He still hadn't recovered his strength, and seeing that Xiao Shui couldn't take it anymore, his shadow clone sword split into 5 swords and attacked the ball of flame from different directions. The vast sword qi swept back around the ball of flame. Mu Yu's sword qi, which was filled with vitality, forced the ball of flame back with a thin and gentle force. The 5 swords formed a circular cage, and the tip of each sword perfectly suppressed the sharp radiance of the ball of flame. For a moment, the ball of flame was actually unable to move. Xiao Shui looked at Mu Yu with slight surprise. She clearly didn't expect Mu Yu to be able to restrain the exploding flying eagle so easily. Mu Yu's 5 swords art relied on softness to overcome hardness, and just happened to have the upper hand for a moment. This was the most amazing part of the 9 forms of the falling dust sword art. Mu Yu might have temporarily suppressed the flying eagle, but he wasn't complacent. He was only relying on the falling dust sword art's miraculous ability to restrain the flying eagle. The flying eagle's domineering nature was far beyond his cultivation level. It probably wouldn't take long for the flying eagle to turn back and break free. However, they had forgotten that this was a desolate land. Powerful demonic beasts could be found everywhere. The aura of their battle had already alerted many demonic beasts. Some of the weaker demonic beasts were scared off, but there were even more demonic beasts that were stronger than them. Those demonic beasts were roaring and had already gathered here. Xiao Shui, behind you. Mu Yu's perception towards danger was extremely sharp. Even if he was fighting with the flying eagle, his attention was still focused on his surroundings. The falling dust sword art could control 9 swords at once, and the most important thing was its powerful ability to divert attention. Mu Yu had already seen the wild wolf that was fighting with the flying eagle a moment ago, and its target was actually Xiao Shui. Mu Yu thought that the wild wolf had already been torn to shreds by the flying eagle. Xiao Shui clenched her teeth and forcefully pulled back the blue ribbon. The blue ribbon struck the wild wolf's head at the critical moment, but the wild wolf's snake tail ruthlessly swung at Xiao Shui's chest, sending her flying. Bright red blood instantly stained Xiao Shui's gauze clothes. Originally, the blue ribbon and Mu Yu's shadow clone sword had trapped the flying eagle together. Now that Xiao Shui was injured, the blue ribbon turned back into a ribbon and scattered to the side. Mu Yu could no longer trap the flying eagle. The flying eagle instantly erupted with powerful spiritual energy, sending Mu Yu flying. Mu Yu couldn't help but cough out a mouthful of blood. The wild wolf and the flowing eagle, these 2 monster beasts, were natural enemies, but for some reason, at this time, they had a common enemy and set their sights on Mu Yu and Xiao Shui. The wild wolf once again rushed towards Xiao Shui, while the flying eagle was filled with anger as it charged towards Mu Yu. Mu Yu saw that Xiao Shui was heavily injured. The wild wolf and the flying eagle's cultivation were comparable to the out-of-aperture stage. With their current situation, it was impossible for either of them to win. Jade Pendant, crush the teleportation Jade Pendant. Mu Yu shouted at Xiao Shui. When they encountered danger, crushing the teleportation Jade Pendant could directly teleport them out. Since Xiao Shui was a member of the Red Dust sect, she would definitely have something like this. As for Mu Yu, he wasn't willing to leave. He had only been here for 2 days, and he still hadn't completed his mission. Moreover, he had stored a lot of plant seeds in his Qingquan bag. At the crucial moment, he could stimulate the seeds to germinate and grow into a huge tree. From there, he could use the tree to get rid of the 2 beasts. These seeds were his insurance. Chapter 219. It's the Jade Pendant. The Jade Pendant that allows us to leave the second layer of heaven. Mu Yu thought that Xiao Shui didn't hear him clearly, so he repeated himself. Encountering a fifth-order monster, it was impossible for them to gain any advantage. Mu Yu originally wanted to throw Xiao Shui out as bait, but now there were two monster beasts coming together, and there was only one Xiao Shui. God knows if a fifth-order monster beast would be as easily killed by Xiao Shui as a fourth-order monster beast. If it didn't die and they still had to rescue Xiao Shui, then the gains would not make up for the losses. I can't leave the second layer of heaven right now. Xiao Shui frowned and simply replied. She seemed to have something to do. Besides, coming to the second layer of heaven was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The spirit chi here was abundant. If they had to run away after coming here for a while, then it would be a pity. Little Handsome, the rank 5 monster beast won't kill you, right? How about you help us deal with one first? Mu Yu was once again sent flying by the flowing hawk's lightning. Whether it was speed or strength, this rank 5 monster beast was much more powerful than the purple caltrop python that Mu Yu encountered before. It was far from what they could deal with. They could only flee in a sorry state. Fly to the right. Little Handsome didn't intend to give it a bite. His nose twitched and his eyes were somewhat confused as he shouted. Why? Although Mu Yu asked, he still did as he was told. Although Little Handsome was always muddle-headed, his words at the crucial moment were generally not wrong. Because there is a familiar smell. Little Handsome's words almost made Mu Yu stumble. Wasn't the familiar smell the smell of fried soybeans? However, Mu Yu didn't hesitate. With a wave of spirit chi in his hand, he brought Xiao Shui over and then flew to the right without stopping. Xiao Shui hesitated for a moment before following closely behind. Bang! 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 The flowing hawk and wild wolf attacked each other as they chased after the two. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, with Mu Yu's speed, they would have been caught and eaten by the two rank 5 monster beasts. Although the rank 5 monster beast's strength was similar to an out-of-body stage cultivator, they didn't have the ability to move 10 li in a single step. Therefore, Mu Yu and Xiao Shui were barely able to keep a distance from the two monster beasts. They are competing to see who can kill us first. Xiao Shui said in a deep voice. Are they retarded? Why don't you fight properly when you're the one fighting? Why do you have to be so evil? Mu Yu cursed loudly. These two beasts couldn't beat each other, so they focused their attention on them. They chased after their prey and fought with each other at the same time. They were very leisurely and elegant, which made Mu Yu extremely depressed. We're almost there. Little Handsome shouted. We have to be faster. Mu Yu narrowly avoided a yellow lightning and bypassed a mountain. In front of them was a huge forest. Just as they were about to advance into the forest, Xiao Shui let out a cry of surprise. What's wrong? Mu Yu asked, puzzled. The two monster beasts didn't come. Xiao Shui stopped and turned around to look behind her. The flowing hawk and wild wolf were pacing back and forth at the top of the mountain, calling to each other. However, they didn't rush towards them. They didn't even attack each other. They were staring at Mu Yu's group like a tiger watching its prey. They seemed to be quite afraid of this forest. Looking at Mu Yu and Xiao Shui, there was a trace of ridicule in their eyes. They don't dare to come here. Could it be that there is something strange about this forest? Mu Yu stared at the forest shrouded in darkness and didn't feel anything strange. This forest was the same as the one he encountered in the second celestial layer. It was ordinary and mediocre. There wasn't even any ominous aura coming from it. However, it was able to scare two fifth-rank monster beasts that were comparable to out-of-aperture stage. Before Mu Yu had time to decide whether to enter the forest or not, Xiao Shui had already descended. Muyu thought for a moment and decided that it was impossible to retreat. The two fifth-order monster beasts were still watching from behind. If they didn't enter the forest and retreat, then their end wouldn't be any better. So, they simply followed. The two of them stepped on the ground covered by leaves. A slight creaking sound was heard. This sound was very ear-piercing in the silent night. Muyu tried to control the surrounding trees, but the effect was still not good. The second celestial layer seemed to have blocked his ability to control wood. This made him feel very troubled. With the help of the light from their magical weapons, the two of them advanced in the forest. Along the way, they only saw some non-aggressive monster beasts. These monster beasts were awakened by Muyu and the two of them. They only let out two dissatisfied cries and then ran away while avoiding the light from their magical weapons. The monster beasts here are very strange. They are all very weak monster beasts. Qiao Shui said. Muyu also noticed this problem. There were many monster beasts in the second celestial layer that he couldn't name. However, he still recognized most of them. These monster beasts in the second celestial layer were relatively easy to tame. They also had a friendly relationship with humans. They wouldn't take the initiative to attack humans. Their fighting strength was also low. They were simply not the opponent of other ferocious monster beasts. Wild wolves and drifting eagles were very ferocious monster beasts. If they came here, presumably these weak monster beasts wouldn't be able to survive. However, they didn't dare to set foot here. What were they afraid of? The two of them continued to walk. The number of animals in front of them began to increase. Many small birds were jumping around on the branches. What was surprising was that the front was getting brighter and brighter. They didn't know where the light was coming from. After walking for a while, a large river blocked their path. They didn't hesitate to soar into the sky and cross the river. At this time, a very strange thing happened. Muyu was surprised to find that they had landed on the other side of the river. It was actually daytime. It was hard to say whether this was an illusion or not. When he raised his head, he could see the warm sunlight shining on his body. It was very warm. His eyes might be mistaken, but the temperature of the sunlight was real. It didn't seem fake. White clouds drifted and a breeze brushed past his cheeks. There was also a trace of indescribable comfort. Muyu looked towards the other side of the river. The other side was still pitch black. Occasionally, he could see a trace of light flashing by. It was the light of fireflies. The sky on the other side was even dotted with stars. In the distance, he could see a round moon. This river was like a dividing line, separating the day and night on both sides. It was really strange. What's going on? Qiao Shui asked in puzzlement. Finally, there's something you don't know. I thought you were omniscient, Muyu said with a smile. Qiao Shui knew a lot more than him, but she didn't understand why they would be separated by day and night after crossing the river. Qiao Shui ignored Muyu and continued to walk forward. The surrounding demonic beasts weren't afraid when they saw them. Instead, they blinked their big eyes and looked at them with an innocent look. Little Handsome, what do you mean by this place is familiar? Muyu asked Little Handsome, who was in his embrace. Little Handsome's cute little paw scratched its head and shook its head. I don't know. I only feel that there's a strange smell here. Don't tell me it's food again, Muyu muttered. However, he had followed Little Handsome's guidance and didn't encounter any danger. They even successfully got rid of the two fifth-rank demonic beasts. This was also a good thing. They continued to walk forward. The more they walked, the more they felt that something was wrong. This place was covered in lush green grass, chirping birds, and fragrant flowers. It was completely different from the world of demon beasts that fought in the outside world, and it was instead like a tranquil paradise that couldn't arouse the slightest desire to battle here. After walking for a while, they arrived at a canyon. What entered their eyes was a small white waterfall. Sunlight shone on the waterfall, forming a rainbow. Egrets fluttered in the air and butterflies danced in the air. It was a harmonious scene. There was a pond below the waterfall. Stones surfaced from the water and the water flowed into the depths of the forest. Xiao Shui walked over and squatted by the pond. She reached her hand into the water and stirred it. She frowned slightly as if she was thinking about something. Then, she suddenly revealed a trace of surprise. "What's wrong?" Muyu looked around. He was attracted by this harmonious scene. He wasn't used to seeing such a peaceful scene in the world of demonic beasts. Xiao Shui stood up and turned to Muyu. "Since we've escaped, let's part here." "Then where are you going? Can't we go together?" Muyu was a little stunned. After all, he had gone through thick and thin with her. He didn't know where this place was. It was hard to say anything in the second layer of heaven. If there was a hidden danger under this peaceful scene, it would be safer for the two of them to be together. "I have my own matters to attend to," Xiao Shui said. Muyu also had his own matters to attend to. However, he had already left his original route. He didn't know where he had run to in this dark place. He needed to reconfirm his direction. "Let's talk after we get out of this forest," Muyu said. "Don't you have anything to do?" Xiao Shui didn't intend to leave with Muyu. Muyu raised her head and gestured at the position of the sun. After confirming the direction, she turned around and looked in the direction she came from. She said helplessly, "Of course I have something to do, but there are 2 fifth-order monster beasts blocking my way." "That's none of my business," Xiao Shui calmly said and walked towards the waterfall. She stood in front of the waterfall and carefully sized it up. It seemed like she wanted to see through the mysteries of the waterfall. Muyu also arrived in front of the waterfall. Looking at the splashing water, he thought of the waterfall at the foot of the Luochen mountain. That place was much more spectacular than this waterfall. "It's behind the waterfall." Little Shui pointed at the waterfall and said. Xiao Shui shot a glance at Little Shui and said, "How does a little beast like you know so much?" Little Shui proudly stood on top of Mu Yu's head and proudly said, "I know a lot of things. Big Sister Xiao Shui, you are really beautiful. You are as beautiful as Big Sister Tianran." Mu Yu pulled down this bootlicker and scolded him in a low voice. He raised his head and looked at Xiao Shui. However, he discovered a trace of smile on the corner of Xiao Shui's mouth. No girl would dislike being praised as beautiful, especially by a cute little Shui. To be honest, putting aside little Shui's shameless character, it was indeed very lovable. Xiao Shui ignored Mu Yu and directly flew towards the waterfall. The blue ribbon on her waist floated out again and coiled in front of her. A gap was created in the waterfall and Xiao Shui disappeared into the waterfall. Chapter 220. Behind the waterfall was a completely different world. A stone bridge led to a pitch-black cave without any light. When Mu Yu crossed the waterfall, Xiao Shui's figure flashed past the entrance of the cave and entered the cave. He looked at the bottom of the stone bridge and realized that there was a vertical abyss below the stone bridge. He didn't know where the abyss led to, but it was really strange that it was hidden behind the waterfall. If it's not a cliff, then it's an abyss. You clearly know that I'm afraid of heights, yet you still want to challenge my limits. Motherf * Ker. Mu Yu muttered as he used the light from the shadow clone's sword to cross the stone bridge. Although he had barely overcome his fear of heights, his heart was still beating like a drum when he looked at the unfathomable abyss below. Thus, he crossed the stone bridge very quickly as he didn't want to stay on the stone bridge for too long. The cave seemed to be man-made as the stone walls were very neat. There seemed to be some strange murals on the walls that were covered in moss and occasionally dripping with water. However, Mu Yu thought that this was the second celestial layer. There were no humans here, so it was impossible for there to be murals. When he wiped away the moss, he was shocked to find that there were some demonic beasts painted on the walls. Strictly speaking, they weren't demonic beasts. Although they had some characteristics of demonic beasts, They had human faces, hands, and feet. Mu Yu instantly understood what these murals were. Demonic beast? Why would there be demonic beasts in the second celestial layer? Mu Yu exclaimed. Qiao Shui was staring at the murals not far away. When she heard Mu Yu's exclamation, she lightly snorted and said, "What's so surprising about demonic beasts in the second celestial layer?" In ancient times, the ruler of the second celestial layer was the demonic beast. The strength of humans in the second celestial layer was inferior to the demonic beast. What? Then where did the humans in the second celestial layer go? Mu Yu had never heard of such a thing. He always thought that the third celestial layer was where humans gathered, but he didn't expect that there would be humans living in the second celestial layer. Are you really stupid, or are you pretending to be stupid? How can you not know this? The second celestial layer is the world of demonic beasts. When demonic beasts gained intelligence, they became demonic beasts. In ancient times, the demonic beasts ruled the entire second celestial layer and wiped out all humans. Qiao Shui said impatiently. The demonic beasts were so ruthless? Mu Yu was extremely shocked. A second heaven human was killed by the demon clan? Before he came to the second layer of heaven, everyone told him that the second layer of heaven was just a wasteland where no humans lived, only the most primitive demon beast. However, no one told him that humans used to live in the second layer of heaven. You really know everything. Mu Yu thought of the teleportation array. Thinking about it this way, it seemed to explain the existence of the teleportation array. Perhaps in ancient times, humans could use two teleportation arrays to travel back and forth between the second heaven and the third heaven. But later, the demon race occupied the second heaven, so the teleportation array in the second heaven was destroyed. Only the teleportation array in the third heaven was left, which caused the location of the teleportation array in the second heaven to be uncertain. Then why haven't I seen any demons in the second heaven? Mu Yu asked, puzzled. Along the way, other than all kinds of strange demonic beasts, there was only the earth human. Qiao Shui glanced at Mu Yu, seemingly hesitating whether she should tell him or not. Then, she said, "Anyway, something happened. The demon race was destroyed, and the demon beasts can no longer awaken their intelligence." What happened? Mu Yu was very curious. What could cause the extinction of a race? I don't know. Qiao Shui said straightforwardly. Forget it if you don't want to say. Mu Yu always felt that Qiao Shui was hiding something, but he couldn't tell. When he first entered the second heaven, because of Tianran, he also roughly glanced at the people of the Red Dust sect. However, at that time, he didn't have any impression of Qiao Shui. Of course, this could also be because he didn't see clearly. However, he was now beginning to suspect that Qiao Shui was a member of the Red Dust sect. Qiao Shui didn't speak and continued to walk deeper into the cave. The deeper they went, the more they felt a palpitating feeling. He felt that it was very strange. There seemed to be a demon beast hibernating in the depths of the cave. There were also some faint sounds coming from it. What a familiar smell. Xiao Shuai's eyes blurred as he touched his nose. What smell is it this time? It's the smell of jelly beans. Mu Yu didn't know if Xiao Shuai's words were reliable or not. When he arrived at the second heaven, Xiao Shui kept mumbling about a familiar smell. As for what it was, Xiao Shui was always evasive. Even he didn't know what it was, let alone Mu Yu, who had a helpless expression. After walking for a while, they found that they had reached the end. There was a cliff in front of them, and there were no exits. This cave didn't seem to be very big. Why is there no path? The entrance should be here. Qiao Shui frowned. She stretched out her slender fingers and felt around the wall. From time to time, she would knock on the wall with a puzzled expression. What entrance? What is your purpose for coming here? Mu Yu asked. Qiao Shui ignored Mu Yu. She searched the entire cave, but she still couldn't find any clues. This made her very dissatisfied. She seemed to want to find something in this cave. Muyu shrugged. He raised his head and touched the ceiling. He then stepped on the rocks on the ground. He saw that a rock seemed a little strange, so he moved it away. There were some strange patterns on the ground, but he couldn't tell what they meant. The smell of jelly beans is coming from here. Xiao Shui jumped on the patterns. His nose was almost touching the ground as he said happily. Muyu squatted down and carefully examined the patterns. At first glance, the patterns looked like graffiti, but upon closer inspection, one could see that there were some orderly lines in the chaos. They were distributed very regularly, and it seemed to be some kind of text. Xiao Shui walked over and looked at the patterns on the ground. A trace of surprise suddenly appeared on her face. It's an ancient demon. Demon? What demon? Demon to mislead people? Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Shui glared at Muyu. She wiped the dust on the patterns with her hand and revealed the complete face. Needless to say, the language was like a heavenly book to Muyu. However, Xiao Shui changed her position and slowly read it out. Prison the pill here, the winning fish waits, the demon array in all directions. What does this mean? Xiao Shui could understand the words, but she couldn't understand what they were trying to express. This made her a little anxious. She touched the rocks around the patterns, wanting to find more clues. Unfortunately, there was only a small piece of rock with patterns, and there was no other information. Muyu sized up the position of the words. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he said, "This is a formation. You know everything, but you can't understand it? Do you know how to break it?" Xiao Shui asked anxiously. Muyu found it strange. Xiao Shui knew a lot of things. She could understand strange words, knew about demonic beasts that didn't exist in the third heaven, and even knew about the history of the second heaven. Now that she was in an unfamiliar place, she couldn't wait to break a formation that she had never seen before. This made Muyu even more puzzled. Could Xiao Shui be a demonic beast that transformed into a human? However, Xiao Shui was a human, and Muyu was very sure of this. The vitality flowing in Xiao Shui's body was the same as a human's. Muyu had seen demonic beasts like the wretched-faced spider-scorpion in the Moyun mountain ranges' hidden Dragon Mountain. They had the vitality of wild beasts, but Xiao Shui didn't have that kind of aura. Let me see. My old man taught me about formations, but I didn't learn it very deeply. This formation is very exquisite. Let me take a look first. Although Muyu couldn't understand the words, it didn't stop him from understanding the structure of the formation. He roughly guessed the prototype of the formation, but it took him a long time. This was because Ku Mu taught him more about poisons than formations. Therefore, he needed to figure it out. After about 15 minutes, he had a rough idea in his heart. Are you done? Xiao Shui kept urging him. Strange. You seem to be very interested in this place. Do you know what's under this formation? Muyu couldn't help but want to get some information from Xiao Shui. A trace of strangeness appeared on Xiao Shui's face, which didn't escape Muyu's eyes. A trace of panic flashed in her eyes, and then she calmly said, "How would I know? The second heaven used to be the territory of the demonic beast. I guess that this might be the nest of a demonic beast." Muyu didn't believe Xiao Shui's words, but he didn't expose her. He was also very curious. The fact that the second heaven was the nest of the demonic beasts had already surprised him. He didn't expect that there would be such a mysterious formation hidden here. This formation was indeed a bit strange. It was different from the formations that Muyu had come into contact with before. This should be a formation passed down from ancient times. The position of the formation was a bit jerky. Many of the formation methods of the ancient formations had been lost. For example, the pill cauldron sex transmission array that connected the third heaven and the second heaven was like this. That transmission array was a completely different formation. The people of the third heaven only knew how to activate this formation, but they didn't know how to repair it. Fortunately, the array formation in this cave was similar to the array formation that Muyu knew. It was not as mysterious as the legends said. It was just a simple array formation that sealed the entrance. As long as one used the correct method to solve the array formation, they would be able to solve it. To activate this formation, you need to know the correct method to activate these formation patterns. Do you think the demonic beasts use the same spirit power as us? I'm not sure if spirit power can open it, Muyu said. The demonic beasts also use spirit power. Hurry up and give it a try, Xiao Shui replied. Muyu raised his eyebrows and pondered for a long time. Then, he seriously looked at the flowing formation. He found a curved entrance from the complex carvings. The spiritual power in his hand surged, and the majestic spiritual power slowly moved to the carvings under his guidance. He carefully began to pour it into the array along the flow of the carvings. Some of these engravings were superfluous. They were used to make up the numbers and confuse the person who was trying to crack the formation. If there was a slight mistake in the injection of spirit power, it would cause the formation to fail. Hua! A ray of light suddenly lit up from the ground. Following that, the engravings all emitted a golden light that shot from the ground to the top of the cave. Every ray of light had a complex demonic language character floating in it. Each character gently rippled, and a soul-stirring aura revolved around the entire cave. It was solemn and dignified. These demonic language characters are the 12 words you just said. I think you should know what to do next, right? Muyu couldn't understand these demonic language characters, so he didn't know how to deal with them. Xiao Shui raised her eyebrows. She explained to Muyu what the 12 words represented, but it wasn't enough. This was because Muyu still couldn't decipher how to combine the 12 words to make the formation work. Xiao Shui was also confused. She only knew these demonic language characters and didn't know anything about formations. These 12 words didn't give her any clues. Chapter 221. Muyu didn't even bother to ask how the dazed bug knew about it. Anyway, it ate half a mouthful. The so-called jelly beans were probably the smell of some treasures of the demon clan that it remembered. Furthermore, Muyu was sure that this treasure was edible. Little Handsome wouldn't be interested in something that couldn't be eaten. What do you mean by giving up some candy? Xiao Shui asked, puzzled. She liked Little Handsome's cute appearance. Therefore, her tone was very gentle when speaking to Little Handsome, completely different from the overbearing tone she used when speaking to Muyu. Seal the pill here, win the fish, and the demon array in all directions. This array is a technique of the demon race. A demon race's array has to be resolved using the demon race's method. This array requires a sacrifice, which is the candy that I'm talking about. Little Handsome had a greedy look on his face. The candy that you're talking about can't be demon spirits, right? Muyu reacted quickly. He knew Little Shui, this foodie, best. He knew what it was thinking just by looking at its greedy face. That's right. It's a delicious demon spirit. Little Handsome smacked its lips. 2 days ago, Little Handsome, who was the terminator of second firmament demon beasts, was eaten by many demon beasts as snacks. It even stole demon spirits from their stomachs. It had already fallen in love with the taste of demon spirit. However, Muyu was puzzled and asked, using demon spirits as sacrifices? In the past, did the demon race need to kill a demon beast to obtain its demon spirit? Isn't that killing one's own kind? The demon race was formed from demon beasts that had gained intelligence. It was equivalent to being of the same breath and branch. It was just like how human cultivators stood out from mortals. Although cultivators also looked down on mortals, they wouldn't brazenly kill them. However, wasn't it too outrageous for the demon race to kill demon beasts to obtain demon spirits as sacrifices? Just like how humans like to kill one another, the demon race is more or less the same. Demon beasts that have yet to gain intelligence are worthless in their eyes, Xiao Shui explained. Xiao Shui explained as she fished out 5 demon spirits and asked, "How many do you need?" These demon spirits were all 4th stage demon spirits that were hunted by Xiao Shui. This was out of Mu Yu's expectations. "I know big sister Xiao Shui has food on her. Can you give me one as a snack?" Little Handsome's eyes flickered as he stared at the demon spirit in Xiao Shui's hand and wiped his saliva. Xiao Shui hesitated for a moment. She couldn't reject such a cute little fellow. Xiao Shui was a thick-skinned guy, but he was also very cute. He was simply a girl killer. Other than Mu Yu, who knew his true nature, who would dislike him, other girls would instantly become his fans when they saw him. "All right. I'll give you one." Xiao Shui generously gave Little Handsome a demon spirit. Little Shui happily chewed and chewed loudly. As he ate, he said, "With the small candies as an offering, we'll be able to eat the big candies later." "Imprisoned here? Are you referring to a certain ancient demon clan's demon spirit that's trapped here?" Mu Yu's eyes lit up. Little Shui said that the demon spirit was a small candy. Then, the big candy was naturally the demon spirit of a powerful demon beast. If that's the case, could there be a 7th, 8th, or even 9th stage demon beast's demon spirit hidden under this array? One must know that a demon spirit is the accumulation of a demon beast's spiritual energy for its entire life. The purity of its spiritual energy is extremely rare, and it's even more precious than spiritual stones. Perhaps only the purple gold spiritual stone that Mu Yu used could be compared to it. The spiritual energy of a high-grade demon beast is terrifying. Regardless of whether it's refining or laying down arrays, it's an excellent choice. The benefits it brings to people are self-evident. "Yes, it's a big demon spirit," Little Handsome happily said. Since they have a demon spirit and know how to activate the array, the next thing they need to know is how to use the demon spirit as an offering. Mu Yu once again looked at the dozen rays of light in the sky and realized that every ray of light was intertwined with each other. However, the points of intersection were all separated, forming a gap. He suddenly understood that the key to activating the array wasn't the 12 words, but the gaps. "Let me see. We've killed dozens of 4th stage demon beasts, and Little Handsome has eaten a few demon spirits. Now we're only left with 5 demon spirit. Including Xiao Shui's 4, we're still 3 demon spirits short. Little Handsome, you shouldn't have eaten those demon spirits. Looks like we'll have to go out and hunt a few more demon beasts." Mu Yu looked at the demon spirit in Little Handsome's hand that only had 1/3 of it left. He guessed that this piece of demon spirit couldn't be used anymore. The easiest and most convenient way to hunt demon beasts and obtain demon spirits is to let Little Handsome go out and be a snack for them. Mu Yu only needs to watch from the side. In order to be able to eat demon spirits, Little Handsome went all out and didn't mind being a snack for those demon beasts. Instead, he went into their stomachs to cause trouble. It's fine. Big Sister Xiao Shui still has a lot of demon spirits. I can smell a lot of delicious food." Little Handsome wasn't flustered at all. In fact, even if Xiao Shui didn't have any demon spirits, Little Handsome would still agree to go out personally. "I still have demon spirits. How many more are missing?" Xiao Shui suddenly waved her hand and a large pile of demon spirits appeared on the ground. Roughly counting, there's about 100 demon spirits. 3rd stage demon spirits are red, 4th stage demon spirits are orange, and 5th stage demon spirits are gold. Looking at the color distribution, most of these demon spirits are 3rd and 4th stage demon spirit. However, there are a few demon spirits that contain frightening spiritual energy. They're actually 5th stage demon spirits. Wow, so many candies. Big Sister wants to marry you and give birth to Little Handsome for you. Little Handsome's saliva started dripping down again. Mu Yu was also shocked. He never thought that Xiao Shui would have collected so many demon spirit. These demon spirits are a huge fortune. Could it be that they're all the demon beasts that Xiao Shui killed in the second stage? Mu Yu and Little Handsome worked for half a day and only managed to get a dozen or so demon spirit. Xiao Shui actually got so many by herself, not to mention, there are a few fifth-stage demon beasts among them. Those are out-of-body stage existences. Just a moment ago, they were being chased by two out-of-body stage fifth-stage demon beasts. How did Xiao Shui get so many demon spirits? Mu Yu asked. Did you get all these demon spirits when you entered the second stage? Xiao Shui didn't want to answer this question and said, You don't have to know how I got them. Take as many as you want. This mysterious girl is truly extravagant. Mu Yu chose 7 fourth-stage demon spirit. He didn't know if fourth-stage demon spirits were enough to activate this array. However, just in case, he decided not to use fifth-stage demon spirit. As for third-stage demon spirits, there's no need to mention them. Third-stage demon spirits are the most basic of demon spirit. Under Mu Yu's control, the 12 demon spirits slowly embedded themselves into the 12 intersecting points of the golden light. When the demon spirits returned to their respective positions, the entire array suddenly trembled, and the golden light suddenly turned as red as blood. It was extremely strange. Following that, the 12 demon runes began to merge with the demon spirit. The scarlet light blossomed once again. The orange fourth-stage demon spirits were also dyed red. They looked like blood-red agates, incomparably bewitching. The 12 rays of light also began to shrink and returned to the 12 demon spirit. At the same time, the 12 demon spirits exploded. The huge shockwave sent Mu Yu and Xiao Shui flying. Neither of them expected this outcome. Fortunately, the two of them had extraordinary skills and managed to stabilize themselves. However, the red light in the cave gradually dissipated. Specks of red light floated and merged with the cave walls. It was as if nothing had happened and the cave returned to its original tranquility. Failed? Fourth-stage demon spirits aren't enough to activate this array? Then, let's try using fifth-stage demon spirits. Xiao Shui frowned her brows. In her eyes, demon spirits are as worthless as stones. Mu Yu was also puzzled. The operation of the array was normal and didn't seem to have any problems. However, why is there no movement at all? Could it be that the array has been in disrepair for a long time? It's outside. It smells like candy. Little Shui ran out of the cave. The little foodie's speed was unbelievably fast. Mu Yu and Xiao Shui exchanged a glance and quickly followed. They jumped out of the cave and arrived at the original entrance. However, when they came out of the cave, they were shocked to discover that the scenery outside had already changed. Originally, after entering the waterfall, there was a pitch-black abyss. Above the abyss, there was a stone bridge that led to the cave. However, when they came out of the cave, the stone bridge and the other part of the waterfall had already disappeared. There was only a hard cliff in the distance and a bottomless abyss beneath their feet. Mu Yu raised his head and looked up. He could faintly see a light above that looked like the entrance of a cave. Within the light there was also a black shadow. That's the stone bridge. That's the exit of the waterfall. But how did we get here? Mu Yu was astonished. They entered the cave through the stone bridge. However, the cave was a dead end with only one array. After activating the array, the exit of the cave was inexplicably shifted to the abyss below the stone bridge. It's a demonic array. This array has done something to the cave. Xiao Shui leaped up and tried to fly up. However, there was an indescribable resistance that prevented them from flying up. It can't be right? We can't fly up? Mu Yu refused to believe it and also tried to fly up. The stone bridge wasn't far away, but Mu Yu couldn't get close to it. Curiosity kills the cat. Why did I come down with you? Mu Yu was extremely troubled. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have bothered with this second layer Heaven's demonic array. He would have just obediently looked for a path to find the 9 Qi soul cleansing flower. He couldn't afford to waste time. The sooner he settled the matter of the netherworld herb and the 9 chi soul cleansing flower, the better. But now, he was accidentally trapped in this abyss. Moreover, he didn't know how to deal with it. What do we do next? Xiao Shui didn't try to fly up. She looked down into the abyss and frowned. Mu Yu knocked his forehead and said, I thought you were very familiar with this place. There's no point in asking me. If I've been here before, I'll definitely be your tour guide. Xiao Shui's nose twitched as he looked down into the abyss. He smacked his lips and said, It's down there. The candy is down there. Mu Yu walked to the edge of the abyss and looked down. A cold wind blew from the darkness, causing him to involuntarily shiver. He didn't know where the end of the abyss was, nor did he know what kind of demons were waiting below. Most importantly, when he saw this abyss, Mu Yu's fear of heights acted up again. Are we really going down? Mu Yu was a little unhappy. To be honest, although he was barely afraid of heights, facing this kind of bottomless abyss, he still felt uneasy. Especially below, he could hear shrill whispers from time to time. It was as if someone was talking down there. The voice floated into Mu Yu's ears along with the cold wind. But when Mu Yu wanted to listen carefully, the voice disappeared. It was as if there was a ghost. Go down. If we don't go down, how are we going to find the candy? Xiao Shui rubbed his palms. For the sake of food, he was really willing to do anything. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.